Good afternoon, everyone, and we're over here. Welcome to Series E Apex Legends. Happy Wednesday, and welcome in for all the fun. My name is Ye. So excited to welcome you in here for another night of awesome Apex Legends action here at Series E. We've got a ton to talk about, some things I specifically want to hit on before we jump into tonight's games. So let's get things rolling first with, for some of you new folks, how things work here at Series E. Now, Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles. We've got Guilty Gear Strive, Multiverses, and of course, Apex Legends. Of course, with some fun stuff on the side we're working on with Halo Infinite and League of Legends if you've seen our recent announcements. Now, the way that it works is players and teams come out, they compete in our open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series E. Now, what does that mean for them? Well, players will get to sign a contract, get sponsored by one of our partnered brands, earn a monthly salary, and compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex Legends, it's every single Wednesday against some of the best teams from all across North America. So if you and your friends want to get involved or have any further questions, head over to esportsarena.com today. Now, as we come back here into the studio, let's look back, of course, at what we saw last week and get ready for what's coming here tonight. Last week, it was tripods dominant. Bit of an open night setup as a lot of teams were getting prepared for the start of the ALGS Pro League this past weekend. Split 2 kicking off with a whole lot of fun on Saturday and Sunday. But tripods were here competing with the partnered squads as well as a litany of fresh open team talent. And tripods took the win at the end of the night. They were very dominant, especially in the back half of the day, looking very good on Storm Point. They were followed up, though, by some familiar faces. Team Aegon by AOC, Mike and Ike, and Tyson rounding out that top 4 behind tripods with some of their best performances of the season. And that leads us into what I want to take a quick look at before we get into the fun is our overall standings for our partnered squads, because this is what these teams are competing for. You can't see it right now, but just to my right here in the studio is a Nerf jersey from last season because Team Nerf won it all. And the remnants of that roster now playing as Team Aegon by AOC currently sit in second place. 354 points for the squad, just 71 points behind Team Mike and Ike. And there's only a few weeks here till the end of the season. So Mike and Ike in a comfortable position, but they need to keep things rolling to make sure that Aegon doesn't make that late season push, because guess what? They've done it before. Turns and the squad weren't in first place until the last moments of last season. It was that big push in the back half in those last few weeks of the season that captured that title for Nerf a season ago, and Aegon's going to be looking to do the same thing here. Razor also in a position to try and make that happen, but that 110-point gap is going to be even more difficult to make up. So the opportunity is there, but it's going to take a good amount of luck breaking the way of Team Aegon and Team Razor, as well as some strong performances. And the hard thing to beat is that Mike and Ike has just been very, very good as of late. MJ has that team firing on all cylinders. The meta has fit their style. The Horizon's still working for them very well. So Mike and Ike going to be a tough team to beat, and we'll have to see if a few weeks from now we're crowning a brand new champion here. It's Series E, and that team Mike and Ike being our champion would be an incredible story to see. So very much looking forward to that. My good friends T Squared and Vicky Kitty will be bringing you all the action tonight, so I'm looking forward to their call here certainly, and I'll be here in between taking a look at highlights, standings, and more, so you can look forward to all of that. But let's not waste any further time. It's another night here of Series E Apex Legends. Let's get into the fun.
Exciting watch. Almost big Matt Pickett vibes from back in early seasons of Series E. Now Slepon taking a lot of damage, and I mean,
The shots are starting to connect the board does, and they're going down. Sung making the thing sang right there.
as we hop back on with Nerf. Nerf looking like they want to close in another fight. Forsey with the shots, and goodbye to
On this doorway and those windows, and they should be able to fight it out. Meanwhile, Intel getting into another battle, clear way across the map. Intel
Mike
breaking.
and Ike are getting aggressive. They got the first knock. Actually, Z Davis once again with that charge rifle, but Bronzy.
No extension from above as well. So
you see what Acceptance up to. They're making the flank on down below. Touch P1, put down coming through. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Maybe a 2-on-1. It is a 2-on-1. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Series E Apex Legends. We have a couple of matches left in our season, and it's going to be absolutely insane finding out who is going to take that #1 spot. T Squared and Vicky Kitty bringing you the action. Vicky, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. I'm glad to be back. I had a little bit of a medical emergency happen last week, and I was missing out on Series E, but now we are back and better than ever. And after the action that we saw this past weekend within the Pro League, I'm excited to see how some of these teams are going to do.
Yeah, and Naso hit the nail on the head. Mike and Ike is tough to deal with right now. They're looking extremely strong. I'm curious to see if Horizon's still going to be strong for MJ going forward. But let's look at the format and the teams to find out exactly what the competition is going to be tonight. And you can see it's your typical ALGS format. We're going to have first place getting 12 points all the way down to 20. You don't want to get that goose egg. That's the last thing that you want to do. Everyone going to be battling out for that extra bit of cash. So you can see the $500 prize pool in that bottom part of your screen. Some interesting team names. You know who I'm rooting for? Straight Simpin out here, Vicky Kitty.
I know your favorite player has to be T-Square's biggest fan. That's going to be nice to check out when you're calling them out. Taking a look at the list of teams that we have currently in the lobby for today, I'm excited because we got other teams that are going to be participating today. I've got to talk about free agent players, formerly known as Godfire. They also had their own individual pop-off week where they won Series E week number 9. I'm excited. 2R1C, they just recently played in the EMEA ALGS this past weekend. Of course, you talk about Mike and Ike leading the overall score, though, with our sponsored teams with 350 total points, or rather 315 total points. They're looking fantastic.
And in terms of the partnered squads, Team Intel is inside of that Pro League. They finished around 15th, I believe, last week. That's how stacked our open night is. So don't count out some of these players just because you don't know exactly who their names are, because there was a lot of players making a name for themselves last week. And again, Aegon by AOC, they're trying to reclaim their title from the previous season in Season 5. What are they going to bring to the table? Orioles had some of the nastiest clips that I've seen from an individual in recent memory in Apex Legends, just absolutely dominating on Stormpoint. He posted it. The dude is absolutely nasty. So I'm looking forward to that team and seeing what they're going to bring to the table. But you have the nail on the head in terms of these open teams. Some of these teams aren't open teams. They're actual pro teams that compete overseas in the ALGS, and they're going to be bringing it when it comes to bringing the heat. 2R1C took game number 1 last week. Then they started to slowly kind of taper down. In the final game, they were able to put up some big points. So I'm expecting big things from them. There's not many other players that I've had much experience with besides, I think it's McDonald's Wi-Fi. So we have a whole new list of players that are coming to sign up. Remember, this is open. So if you're watching and you're getting interested in competing in Series Z, now is the time. Get inside of these open nights, figure out where you're going to end up stacking up, and then go through the qualification process as we move into Season 7.
Yeah, see where your skills compare to a lot of these other players that have had the experience in competing in multiple lobbies, whether it be just amateur lobbies or it be the Pro League. You take a look at teams like NorCal. This team had the opportunity to perform alongside Godfire at LAN in London. They individually have so much different individual skill that they bring to the table. I'm excited to see how that Brazilian squad does. NTC, a squad that I'm not so much not seeing, but the fact that they have so many individually talented players, Enemigo, Taylus, Controversial, this Mexican team really coming through as well. So many different teams that I'm excited to see today in this lobby top.
And some people think that, these diamond players are the scariest because they just end up full sending it. So we may have a couple diamond players in here, a couple ranked gods. I think that, if we had some experience with ranked in the last week or two, Vicky was playing earlier today. Everyone's getting better at the game. There's nothing that you could say bad about these players. Everyone's absolutely bringing it. I think we had maybe 2 teams that didn't get into double digits for points, but keep in mind, Intel only had 17 points when we're talking about last week. So there's a lot of competition when we go and look at all of the players that are coming on board. In terms of who you think is going to take first place, Vicky, who do you got today?
Ooh, man, you already have the prediction throw at me. Okay. I got to say, because this lobby is pretty stacked right now. You know what? I'm going to come out here. I'm going to say NTC is going to pop off. I'm going to say that this Mexican team, again, has so many talented players. As we take a look at the overall list again, they're going to do really well. Definitely look out for FA players. They've already taken a week themselves. NorCal is going to be another one that I'm going to have my eyes on. So many strong players that also are preparing for this upcoming week of the ALGS, because Group C, I believe in South America, has not had the opportunity to play. That's going to be NorCal, which they're going to be able to play, I think it's in 2 to 3 days. So some of these teams are also preparing and using tonight as opportunity to practice for the upcoming Pro League days that are going to be happening this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2R1C just because the way that they came out in the first game last week. I think if they keep any type of momentum up, they also had a kind of tragic team fight that happened on World's Edge in game number 2 where they ended up getting pushed one of our open teams came through, mopped them, ended up mopping Mike and Ike after that, and really starting to dominate in that specific lobby. But I really think 2R1C has what it takes. They are really good if they can get to the end circle. So if you could see them kind of picking up some early KP, finding their way into the zone, I feel like that's definitely a team to watch out for. We've been watching Uchaku go off for a very long time. Hyarka, absolutely nasty. So they have a lot of experience. Lonely Fans is a team that has had a lot of Series E experience in the past. We've seen their name pop up a handful of times, so it's another team that we haven't had an opportunity to really touch base on that's going to be fairly strong going forward.
Come on, T-Squared. You're not going to say straight simping out here? I mean, come on. They're calling out to you right there, too. But I love how you bring up 2R1C. Honestly, I wanted to throw a different curveball at a different team that we haven't seen. But 2R1C this past weekend had such an insane pop-off moment in day 2, I believe it was. They won like 2 games back-to-back on Stormpoint. They won another game on World's Edge. This squad is a dominating squad in the EMEA region. I think now overall after their last 2 days, they're sitting at second or top 3 in the overall standings in the ALGS in the EMEA region. So that is definitely a team that is looking to flex a lot when it comes to their performance right now, and at least trying to see what they could do even better before this upcoming weekend starts too.
Yeah, and I like that they're probably doing the EMEA scrims during the day, and they stay around, and then they play Series E at night so they can get that international competition. And I'm a firm believer that the teams that show up to Series E, there's a reason why Team ESA ended up signing with Optic Gaming, and there was another strong ESA team. These teams come through, and they put up some serious work. You know, everyone that shows up here, we were doing 2 days a week, 2 nights a week at one point.
Yeah.
We dropped it down to 1, but when we come down to actual practice week by week, this has been the staple of how teams are going to practice. And some people rather do scrims, some people rather do this and that. But realistically, I feel like ESA is what you're going to be wanting to do. Playing in Series E is what you want to do, because the proof's in the pudding of how good people have gotten based on getting a wide variety of experience, because every single lobby is different, and you need to be able to deal with the certain things of, all right, maybe we will have a couple of open teams in here that we could maybe pick on and get a couple early KP, or maybe they're going to be landing directly over towards your spot, and that's going to be a problem for certain people to deal with, because the last thing you want to do in Apex is get frustrated. You have to stay very even keel. You have to be able to keep your head in the right spot. So we'll see what happens and how this lobby is going to play out today. Is it going to be more of a play the zone type of lobby, or is it going to be just an absolute bloodbath?
Yeah, you want to keep your mental and vibes at an all-time high, especially with this past week. If you take a look at the way that a lot of these teams played in the Pro League, I would say a lot of these teams are experimenting with a lot of what we've seen so far in the Legend meta composition. With so many changes that Season 16 brought, it's about those controller legends that have been kind of in that realm of what should we do? Should the Catalyst stay? Or we're running the Catalyst Seer. The Bangalore Seer has been a different variation. We've been seeing a lot of Wraith in NA. We've been seeing a lot of Rampart in EMEA. So I think it's been interesting to see what Season 16 changes have brought into the meta right now. And a lot of these teams could also use tonight as an opportunity not just practice their experience within the competition, but to also practice the different Legend comps that they feel comfortable running all together.
An interesting situation over here towards Lava City is it looks like Razor wants to go and maybe third party what's going on over towards Mirage, but it could just end up being them charging over there to stop them from getting a majority of this loot, because these are two teams that typically I don't think land over here. So I think that this is just a, hey, let's get out, go on over to Geyser, stop their loot, pick up this purple armor, and then it seems like Razor's pretty upset about that. They're like, you know what? I want to grab this Havoc. I want to charge over there. I'm not interested in letting them get away with this, which is an interesting strategy for Mike and Ike, because if someone ended up going on over towards Geyser, we know what's going to happen. They're going to run into a team. But I think what happened was they're in the flight. They realize, okay, we have 2 POIs that we could take. And that's a little bit of an unfortunate situation for Team Razor, because you can see they've already had 2 of their armors taken. As you see, the first team, McDonald's Wi-Fi, ends up getting dropped. Lagiki, a team that we saw last week, is very strong. Reptilian was extremely impressive in certain situations. It's going to be Lava Fisher. So teams landing all over the lava areas. I wonder if maybe 2 teams landed over towards Lava Siphon. As you see, NTC, Vicky, they're on the run already.
Look, I feel like everyone has woken up and chose violence playing in Apex today, because if it isn't my games, it's in this lobby, and everybody is duking it out. It was two teams, GIB with Barely, Genuine, and Twitch, It's High Q, as well as McDonald's Wi-Fi out here already, and NTC are playing this as a duo. Taylor's going down. This is the team that I had my eyes on to see how they were going to fare against the rest of this lobby, because, again, there's some heavy hitters. Intel now going down. This is insane. What a way to start off World's Edge for Game 1.
I'm all about the 50-50s. I like seeing the teams duke it out. Intel ends up going down in 18th place. It's going to be the flat line going in onto Paxi. Goon and Reptilian now have to make their way around, and nice little blue armor swap coming through. So you know you have that extra gray armor up top. But multiple teams inside of this Lava Fisher area, like you were talking about, Vicky. Only one's going to walk away. And it looks like Team No Name, based on the armors, based on how healthy they are in this 3-on-2 situation, are going to have a fairly big advantage. So maybe they back off, let these players play the banners, and then kind of collapse on that overall. Team Razor, they made their way over towards the dome. So really interesting that they didn't loot over towards Lava City as much. They wanted to make a rotation. They didn't pick up anything strong in terms of armor. So this is a tough spot to be in. Borton, he's going to be playing on that Valkyrie, has the Sentinel R9, not the ideal situation for setting up over here, but they are looking for blood. They chose violence, Vicky, 100%. There's a lot of aggression right off the rip. You really wouldn't have it any other way. A handful of players already eliminated before round 1 already closing.
This is crazy, and I love how you talked about the rotation from Razor, because it looked like they wanted to rotate towards Big Mod, where we saw Mike and Ike, and rather than just continuously pushing towards Big Mod, they actually ended up pulling back, getting involved in a fight, and now going right back towards Lava City. They get scanned by the survey beacons. Now they'll scan characters. Oh, it's Kraken's Lair that have the high ground actually right over them, and the gold R301 gun. So Kraken's Lair could have been the other team to maybe try to split that loot in Big Mod, which is why Mike and Ike decided to opt out, and why Team Razor didn't push, because they heard that there was no third party to third, or rather any fight to third party. So instead they backed off. It looks like they took a skyward dive and are now trying to rotate around Kraken's Lair to out-rotate this team.
Now, all of this action that's going on over through Geyser, you wonder, will Mike and I continue to take the advantage based on them grabbing a little bit of extra loot over towards Mirage, which we know has some of the fastest loot that you can get and some of the best loot that you can get. I'm offended that nobody grabbed one of the weapons, though. You know, where's the Lobas at? Someone needs to take the high priority weapons.
I agree, especially when the Loba has to be a little greedy, take that weapon for herself and have it break on her teammates. No, I'm just joking. But we have seen some Lobas, actually, specifically one from NA, Nathan out here, has been rocking the Loba. It's been interesting because you know how Loba provides that certain playstyle where you're always playing for final circle positioning, like some controller characters do. Loba, obviously being that support character where she can craft her own teammate's banner, comes in handy, especially if you're trying to solo queue in ranked. But it's different when you're involved in these type of lobbies.
Big fan of Loba, especially because I like my perfect loadout when we talk about setting up and getting into good position. Now, Razor has advanced those Evo shields from gray to blue. Whether they got the damage or whether they picked it up, we're not quite sure. You can see 0 damage on one of the players' screens. Enemy Go and Controversial now. They're still on the run this time over towards the Skyhook side, making their way over from Lava Fisher. Talus, unfortunately, is going to be timing out, which is going to be tough for the rotations, but now a ton of damage taken out. Just a little bit of a jiggle peek, and that's all it costs to take a majority of the HP through the Nemesis. We know that thing's going to absolutely rip. Enemy Go is going to be putting down some extra cover fire, and some gold armors happen over towards the middle area, but this is tough if they get spotted out that they're a duo. You can see good grenade. Not going to be able to land through the window, but that could have been perfectly placed by the enemy team. Now the rotations are going to have to happen through the smokes for Controversial. A couple of meds being shared back and forth, but right now, it's just about big chilling. If we can get an opportunity to see where the map is, there's been a lot of action, but I'm curious to see where the zone's going to be and if there's an opportunity to see where a majority of the players are going to fight at the chokes.
There it is. I love it. Shout out to our production out here, the observers. We got the next circle pulling up all the way towards Climatizer, and 3 teams that have already predicted where the circle is going to be going, or rather they probably have that information, so they already went ahead and started rotating towards that northeast side of the map. But so much action. Look at the amount of teams exiting out of Skyhook into that next choke point, whether it be the train tracks or in that beacon building north of Fragment West. It is going to be a bloodbath after this circle closes, and then the next circle, which is going to force his northern teams to have to duke it out to actually rotate through Servant Camp.
Let's reposition there. That spot.
2R1C now putting in some shots. And Chalky not able to connect with the flatline. Interesting to see some players using the flatline when we have a lot of other strong weapons, but a big nade comes through. NorCal getting eliminated. What a nade right there from Ochako. Doesn't land with the shots, but doesn't matter. Doesn't even need to shoot when he could just chuck projectiles like that. You can see the Seer ultimate goes down, which stops players from potentially third partying. Also gave them info going forward. Gold knockdown shield. Well, kind of want that one before you hit the res, but they're going to be A-okay for now as Akon by AOC looks like they're interested in. As soon as that Seer ultimate goes down, that's when they wanted to go and push up. You can see Turns wants to push with this Havoc. The shots are looking crispy. Takes 2 players down to no shield. Seer comes through, tries to get an armor swap. It's not inside of the box like he was hoping for. Could have been a weak one, and now he needs to back off. He has a Digithreat, uses the smoke here, and look at the movement. Where are the rest of Aegon by AOC? Turns as a one-man wrecking crew at this point.
He was destroying them all by himself. They lined up in his peripherals. He gets taken down. 2 members left of Aegon, but he put in enough work. Can we talk about their equipment too? Not only do we see the gold extended energy mag in the hands of Turns, but there's also 2 gold mags in the hands of ForceWhat. They lose out on Turns. They pick up the banner. They walk away with some KP to their name, but that could have been really a great situation for Aegon if they were able to take different angles right there to help out Turns.
Yeah, that's a tough situation, but the thing is they're going to have a respawn beacon right there where they're going to be able to get Turns and his loot back most likely. Looks like a third party coming in from the backhand side. It's going to be Team Where Arcstars end up going down for Anxiety. This is a tough spot to be in, Vicky, because you don't have a Watson, you don't have a Catalyst, anything to stop these grenades coming through, anything to lock down the doors. Mike and Ike is here over towards the area where the zone's going to be ending as well. We have 4 or 5 different teams setting up over here. This is going to be absolutely insane. While multiple fights are taking place, Copium gets eliminated. They go out in 14th place. MJ finds the Prowler onto Anxiety. Where goes out? That was a team inside of the blue trailer. And you're starting to see this a little bit more often from our Horizon players. Hal's been adapting it. The Prowler is one of the best weapons to go and shoot while you're going up the lift still. So that's going to be adapted here from MJ as he makes a couple of adjustments to the nerfs that happened season after season for Horizon. So I like this play, and I'm curious to see what he's going to be able to do, because the Prowler still does have one of the highest TTKs overall. But you can see another team goes inside of the blue trailer. They get the scans, and they realize they have the advantage over here. They have better armors, and now they're on the prowl.
MJ says, I love my high firing rate burst weapons. The Prowler and the Nemesis in his hand. Rocking the Horizon, like you said. We've been seeing a few teams try to adapt the Horizon despite the nerves. TSM actually being one of those teams. Verhos has been rocking the Horizon at the end of their sessions in the Pro League that we've seen this past weekend. Taking different off angles, though, this has been a bloodbath in this little area alone. Definitely agree here in trying to move in for the fourth party, especially since that team did get wiped out in that blue trailer, like you mentioned. Catalyst wall going up. You got the Digithreat at your hand. Backing away, though, Wizard Coin. The question is, do you want to try to commit right now to the Seer ult? The Black Hole coming out to try to negate the wall from having any pressure. Nice angle on the Hydra from MJ. He gets 1 knock, he gets a 2nd knock, and he gets the team wipe. But that's Lagiki out of this lobby. Mike and Ike now trying to get the reset before another team rolls in.
Yeah, MJ like a pigeon over there, just sitting on top of the post and dumping on him. Absolutely ridiculous plays from MJ. You can see the Black Hole goes down, doesn't connect as they wanted, but it forced him up, and then they had to back off, and there he is. He's directly on top of them with the Prowler, with the Nemesis, the crouch shots as well. Aegon gets back on over towards their loot. Turns didn't rage on his teammates, which I would have done, asking, where the heck were you guys as I was 3v1ing all of 2R1C, and now they're back for blood in the same exact spot that they died from. And this is the guy that I want to see pop off. Orioles, an absolute monster on this year with the 2v1 that he had last week. If you didn't get an opportunity to see it, go give him a follow, because ridiculous play with an armor swap as Mike and Ike regroups. I'm shocked that nobody has a red armor right now for this team. You can see the 1,000 damage coming in from MJ. Already has 5 kills, and they've been locking down this quadrant for quite some time.
MJ's going crazy. Not only is his movement nice, you say he looked like a pigeon. Must have got an update of that Bloodhound change. He wanted to cosplay as that. I call it a pigeon, honestly, but we know it's the White Raven just perched up on that spotlight. They have so much loot to work with. Like you said, just putting in so much damage already, but look at these off angles, too, that they're holding. It's silent on the other side. So that grenade getting tossed, or rather the missile swarm getting tossed in their direction. You definitely need help out here, though. You need that energy ammo. You know that Nemesis eats up energy ammo like nothing.
Yeah, it does, and so does the Prowler. So this is one of the tough things about the current loadout that he has is he needs a lot of room in his backpack. Plus, you need grenades on this horizon. But multiple players using the Prowler over here. That's going to be the knock onto Force. You know that they still have the Seer. They have the Bangalore. Find out exactly what angles they decide to take as Wizard Court ends up going for the battery. Silent ends up getting taken down. That's going to be Orioles coming through. You know, Turns is there with the Digithreat as well, but the Digithreat is met from MJ. He looks for the swap. He's not able to find it. Horizon, a little bit of taste of his own medicine. His Team Razor now says, remember that loot that you took? Well, we're back. Silent and MJ both getting dropped from Razor. Aegon by AOC survives the third party as Mike and Ike ends up going out, but there's a fourth party. There's probably a fifth party. Heck, Vicky, the game's ending here. Maybe they could just end it now.
8 squads left. I also saw a charge rifle in the distance. Chad enjoy is normal how insane that weapon is on the high ground, especially when you get to overlook the fights that are happening right now here on the other side of this fence. Tries to go for a shield swap, but it's empty right now. He needs another one. Den Pride just trying to find anything. Are all these boxes empty? Oh my gosh, that's actually crazy. He says, never mind. I'm just going to back up. Use this shield bat instead. It's fine. Also looking out to see where those 5th or 6th parties could be rolling in. Because like you said, T, this is probably going to be where the final game is going to be pulling right now with so many other squads already making their way into this final circle.
Ooh, look at that 30-30. It's got the Skull Piercer on it, which is inside of the Crafter, if I'm not mistaken. It's got the 2-4. It's got the purple stock. So this is a very, very solid loadout. As you see, Team No Name takes the position where all of the fighting ends up taking place. Always makes you wonder, it's like, why are there so many death boxes here? There was a fight, that's obviously what that means, but it means a lot of people are dying over in the area. I don't think I've ever seen so many death boxes in one spot as straight simping. I'm simping for them. Let's go, T2's biggest fan down at Epicenter. I see you guys. Take that team down.
And Circle keeping that team at the same time while probably holding on to the high ground. We're not watching the fight at the moment, but they probably do have that high ground advantage before that team could rotate in. Looking at another fight. Oh my goodness. Wall for wall. Zero coming up. They can try to get some vision if this enemy squad is within that vicinity. You can see the scan coming in with the Seer tactical as well. Team Tyson just trying to get at least some information, but they can't even see what's ahead of them.
Yeah, that wall lasts so long. It doesn't go down for a good, like, 45 seconds, it feels like, at certain points. I think it's about 30 overall as you start to see Team Tyson make their move. You mentioned a little bit earlier, the Wraith is becoming fairly popular in North America. The extended portal. Huge for when you need to do rotations, especially considering Valkyrie can basically fly around half of the map. So Leave No Witnesses starting to advance with the Bangalore. Digithreats, I think, are also inside of the Crafter, so add extra hype to the Bangalore train out here. As you can see, they are pushing on over towards the bridge. R9 charge rifle. The Rambo special for Brutus ends up taking a ton of damage, has to back off. Team Razor also getting in a fight as Kodagami goes down by Den Pride. So multiple fights taking place over here. 8 squads, 21 players. There are a couple rats that are there. Controversial getting dropped by Blueberry. Tyson taken down by the hands of Razor, plus Enemy Go getting inside of a fight too. So we have 3 separate fights that are potentially taking place.
Oh, NTC get taken out. 6 squads left with the Digithreat in the hands, though, of Kuriv. You talked about it perfectly. The Digi is in the Replicator right now, which with so many Bangalore squads currently trying out this composition instead of the Catalyst is fantastic here. You got to take advantage of the utilization that the Replicator does provide. Boost up that shield to a red Evo shield, backing away perfectly. Not inside that next circle, though, so they have to try to wander off this team that's right in front of them, hiding behind these rocks without a third party rotating in from the low ground.
And you got to play this safe because this roof is one of the most exposed in third-party areas. I don't think they have anyone coming from their backhand side, but realistically, Vicky, it doesn't look like anyone has checked behind over towards Epicenter. So if someone's making a very late rotation, they have free pickings on this team on top of the roof, which is LNW. Bangalore ult going on over towards the northwest area. That's going to be onto Kraken's lair. It gets answered with a Sky Grenade. Doesn't look like that Bangalore ult is going to be able to hit because they found a little bit of cover on the side of this rock, but the rotations have to take place now. Round 4 going to absolutely eat you alive. You do not want to end up getting third-partied as you make your way on over towards the zone, but Brutus with that Digi, like you talked about, Vicky, it puts in work. Nobody can see as Kraken's lair is taken down. Leave No Witnesses with an extremely clean team fight. The use of the smokes, perfect there from Kuriv.
They ate that up like it was an early Thanksgiving feast out here with that Digi, but this is the other team that was feasting on them and their leftovers on the back end. Kuriv getting pinged with so much damage, has a Death Box at his feet in case he needs to go for a quick shield swap. He doesn't want to give up that red Evo, and they have to try to find an opportunity to try to get their third up, but Razor is not giving them a chance. They also have the Digi threat in the hands right now of Product Enjoy and Bursty. I love the name.
It's looking like a Snoop Dogg concert out here. You can't see anything as the advance comes in from Team Razor. Brutus making their way forward. That's going to be Leave No Witnesses on the ropes as Borton takes a decent amount of damage, but it's not enough to drop a player. Borton ends up going for the heal instead of going for the armor swap because of the fact that he has the red armor. No Name, they've been locking down the blue trailer for a while now. Shots from Den Pride through the smoke. He's got the R301 car combo. Great for being able to put down massive damage across the map. And Straight Sippin coming in on over towards the backhand side. It's going to be Den Pride with the armor swap. Plenty of boxes. Remember, a majority of these are going to be empty, though. So unless they've replenished those with batteries, it's going to be fairly difficult to go inside the boxes and find those armor swaps.
That's such a good point. The engagement, the beam is the 3-2-1 as they focus down on Chief Seep. I believe that's going to be your straight ripping fans out here, actually. I see T-Squared's biggest fan inside the building, still living with 4 squads left, but Razor playing up the low ground and the heartbeat sensor. In the hands of Blitz, he knows exactly where these players are inside the buildings. They're looking to try to fully send it, trying to take different angles. Where'd they go as the Zero got unleashed? It's T-Squared's biggest fan who gets deleted. I'm sorry, T, but it must be done with 3 squads left. It's going to be Razor, Lonely Fans, and No Name.
Hey, shout out to Straight Simpin', all right? It's a tough lobby. They were able to sneak their way into top 4, making their way, playing the edge of the zone, and letting the rest of these big dogs end up duking it out. Team No Name now has to push in on over towards where Lonely Fans is, and that's why you saw so many teams going on over towards the blue trailer, because that's where the end zone is going to go. So Team Razor right now has an opportunity to push up, pinch onto Team No Name, or are they going to end up playing over towards that southwest area, which you can see they're locking down a ton of cover over here. Horizon is going to be huge in these moments. You can see Bursty, he's 11% away from having his ultimate, and if they can get a couple of players to get inside of the trailer, he has a grenade, and that grenade is going to be massive if they end up going shoulder to shoulder.
Only concern here is those small heals that Bursty could really work with. He just uses last syringe. They're playing patiently, waiting for these two teams to engage in a fight first. Angler Smoke's coming out, and he's still beaming right through that smoke with the R301. All he needs is that little 1x2 circle sight to look through. Blitz on the outside of the Seer ult too, but he's still putting in a lot of the pressure from afar, forcing them to also use some of those meds while the circle's going to be closing in behind their backs in the next 40 seconds.
Still anyone's game, but the push goes in on over towards the trailer, which is a huge advantage for Team Razor. Look at the shots from Blitz, taking one player down to no shields. The Seer ult through the smoke. Horizon ult gets dissipated basically immediately. Everyone looking extremely healthy. You have Nox coming in on both sides. The trailer still a very big spot to play. He's got the Digi threat on top of the PK too, so it makes it just a little bit easier to shoot those shotgun shots throughout all of Visual Clutter. It's still Lonely Fans inside of the trailer. Blitz versus Blueberry. One player taken down to no shields. No Name ends up getting eliminated. Buddha's trying to find an extra armor swap on the outside of the building, but Team Razor, they ended up getting griefed early in the game for their loot. They come back strong with the rotation all the way from Lava City, and they take game number 1.
With beautiful off angles there too. You saw the way that Razor was playing split to take different angles on the team that was playing on the inside, just in case they try to isolate some of the members of Team Razor. What a way to take game number 1 on World's Edge, and like you said, at a disadvantage off the rip, just looking at the rotation and what they had to deal with off of the loot that they found.
They had triple gray armor running through Geyser, not able to figure out, and they're going as far away as possible from the zone, Vicky. They're on all the way of the south side, going through Lava City into Dome. They have to make their way to the tip top of Climatizer, and you can see the kills and the damage reflecting in that. 13 kills overall, plus the 12 points that they picked up from placement. A big 25-point dub on World's Edge. That's what you love to see. And again, Horizon, very viable. Seer, Valkyrie, a lot of legends and a lot of different variety we saw right there. But it's really about how you play and what you use to your advantage instead of the actual legends that you're picking. But we saw a ton of Bangalore too. Seer's going to be valuable. These Digi threats inside of the Crafter and the Replicator, Vicky, are a must for every single gun, which means, hey, yeah, you want to run the Nemesis, you want to run the R3, but you need a car, you need an R9, you need a PK like that over towards the final side of and moments of that game. That was an exciting game. A lot of 50-50s off the rip, a lot of players taking each other down. I'm curious what Yesa's thoughts are. Let's toss this on over the desk.
That game really just comes down to what I was setting up at the start of the day, Tom, and we're talking about the overall standings, the proximity here to the end of the season, and these teams trying to battle it out to take the title of Series E champion here in Season 6. And of course, Mike and Ike in a very comfortable position where they are right now, but Razor and Akon with that opportunity to make a run, and Razor delivering on what I asked from them at the top of the day. That gap is not insignificant. 110 points is going to be hard to make up when Mike and Ike is playing as well as they are right now, but Razor showing up with one of the best games we've seen from them all season long to start the day really sets a tone from that team. And we'll have to see, it's hard to keep that play going, right? If they can have maybe another 2 or 3 games that are not quite as crazy as that, but still solid performances, even if they don't get wins, then they're really making up some ground. But that is the kind of game that you want to start with if you're Team Razor. As I said, it sets the tone for them. It really kicks things off on the right foot, and they're going to be going into now games 2 and game 3 with a ton of confidence, and that's what they need when they're staring down the barrel of the end of the season, and they want to unseat Mike and Ike from that position at the top. So huge win from Razor, wonderful performance. Let's take a look though at our Mobile One high performance moment, and we're actually going to take a look at a little bit of action from Team Mike and Ike here, and it's originally MJ just peeking around this corner. We saw action for so long here up on this northern edge of Climatizer, and so you see even here with 13 squads remaining, MJ says, let's go up top, hits the gravity lift, drops the perfect ultimate, and then what a just galaxy brain play here to land on top of the light post. You can see Lagiki doesn't expect that angle whatsoever. They're still trying to play around these fences, looking for the push around these peaks, and MJ just gets right on top of them, has perfect sight lines on the entire team, and can absolutely laser everybody. So even when they pull away from the ultimate here from the horizon, MJ still has all the sight that he needs to clean up these last couple of players and wipe out Lagiki. So just a really clean play, and that's, that play is emblematic of why people like myself or Tom talk about MJ and talk about Mike and Ike so much. MJ is that catalyst for the team. It only doubles down on that point when he's playing the horizon, and the entire team is solid, right? Really well-rounded team. Everybody is talented on that squad, but it's just so easy to pick out those MJ plays because he's really kicking them off for the team so often. But it is important to credit the rest of the squad, and it is all of Mike and Ike's credit, to their entire credit, that they are at the top of the standings here so far, and that's a solid little play there from game 1. But we'll have to see what Razor can keep rolling here. Let's take a look at our Mobile One leaderboard though. See just what that gap looks like. Razor with a 25-point performance, 11 points ahead of Lonely Fans and Leave No Witness there, tied up in second place. Also, awesome to see Blueberry here in the mix. A little bit of a throwback, right? Season 3 Team Applejacks took some time off from competitive Apex, getting back in the mix here a little bit. Very cool to see him back here and playing and having a solid start to the day. Mike and Ike, of course, just a little further back, 10 points in 4th. But there are your standings here, your Mobile One leaderboard after one game today. 2 more to go on World's Edge. Before we make the swap, we're going to a break right now. When we come back, T-Squared and Vicky will get you ready as we drop back on to World's Edge.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
Game 1 is in the books as we move into Game 2 on World's Edge. T-Squared and Vicky Kitty bringing you the action. Team Razor dominating in that performance, and they did it with a lot of KP.
Yeah, they were looking fantastic out here. When they were living off the land, off of Rip, when they were forced to rotate with not just White Evo shields, but give up half of Big Mod as well. We saw another team land there. We saw what happened earlier on in Lava City. When it comes to some of these difficult rotations, though, and you're coming from the south side of the map all the way to the northeast, it's pretty impressive, too, because they were playing by the edge of that circle, which worked really well into their team composition between the Horizon, the Seer, and the Valkyrie, I believe.
Yeah, that's why, you need a bare minimum of one rotational legend. That's why it's so important to have Valkyrie in these instances. You don't want to end up getting gate capped, especially in Storm Point, because there's a lot of areas where you just end up getting gate capped because the zone ends up being so predictable. Felt like Game 1 had a fairly predictable zone. World's Edge is kind of known for potentially, the zones bouncing left and right, north and south. Really just depends on which zone you're going to get. We had a crazy one last week that was very, very unpredictable over towards the Skyhook side. We'll find out what zone number 2 is going to be. We like the diversity inside of the zone, so maybe we'll get something like Central, like Fragment. Maybe it'll move down south. But sometimes, Vicky, when you have to trek so far across the map, ends up creating a lot of opportunities, and that seems what happened with Razor.
Yeah, I've expressed something similar like that, T, and then I got 3 climatizer circles. I don't want to jinx it out here. It's happened before, but let's see what next zone we're going to be seeing here for our game number 2. We also saw a lot of early fights, a lot of 50-50s off the rip in our game number 1. Now moving on to game number 2, are we going to be expecting the same type of violence chosen by these players?
It's going to be a Fragment West drop coming in from Razor, so they should be able to get some pretty good loot and then get it out of the area. It doesn't seem like anyone has landed over there as we jump on board with Team Intel. Interesting when teams end up fighting for a survey, because it's definitely not the best POI overall, but it can definitely lead to some good KP if you pick up these early kill points, and that looks like what Intel's thought process is. As you see, Mike and Ike takes down Kraken's lair. It's Dundee T getting dropped at the hands of Jet as well, and Intel looks like they should have this under wraps.
See Intel now wrapping around, cleaning up what's left here. Another team right back in the lobby. That's going to be FA players, and where FA players, I was expecting more out here from this team. This team's actually insane. That was previously known as Godfire. We've seen them in this lobby before, but unfortunately, it looks like they're having a difficult time right now with so many other teams right now as well, just choosing to be so aggressive off the rip. Now taking a look at where the circles are pulling. It's slightly north still, but it's pulling more towards Fragment, which is going to be great for Razor. They have all of Fragment to loot from. They could try to get the beacon if they have one of those control characters, and the replicator on top of that. So they don't really have to engage in any of these fights just for right now, so that way they can just boost up their Evo shields with the replicator instead.
Yeah, and maybe their thought process was, hey, Mike and Ike's in first place. Let's land Lava City, try to grief their loot, and then charge them and go for a fight. But once they ended up securing an entire POI, heck, 2 POIs directly towards the center, they get the dub in game number 1. Plus, they are granted the circle in game number 2. You could see where all of the teams on the west side of the map are going to be, and that is going to be difficult because there's at least 5 or 6 they're going to have to rotate over from that countdown side. So that's going to be interesting as they make their way over towards Fragment. Great loot to start here from Aegon by AOC, but they're taking some damage. It's 2R1C, the battles of the seas, as they move forward and collapse on their knock that they got, and it looks like they are not interested in fighting this one unless they're going to get in their face, and that's exactly what it is. It's the PK shots coming in from VJ, but Orioles has an armor swap as well. This could potentially be a 2 versus 1. They have this here ultimate. They're going nuts. Orioles almost takes him down. There goes the res. Wow, so they ended up bailing, and one player charged all the way across, and they left Orioles to go and fight, and he almost won that 2v1, Vicky. If he wins that, they potentially win this fight.
I would have been so salty. Orioles was having that in the bag. He was playing them off the little side of the rail right there, but turns, says, you guys abandoned me in my last fight in game number 1. Nah, I'm pretty sure he was lacking of maybe some loot out here, but that's what I think. That's what my rank brain tells me. So he's just back up,
Vicky,
trying to get as much loot as possible.
Okay, I was thinking the same thing, all right? I was like, yo, he's getting a little bit of sweet revenge on his teammates to show you what it's like, what happens when you bail.
I was thinking it because, we've all been there in a type of situation like that, but Orioles was putting in work in that floor, on that second floor of that building. And TC now, on the other side, another fight. And a third party now rolling in from behind.
Talus ends up getting dropped. The res ends up happening for enemy go. Controversial gets dropped because he's going for the cover fire. This is where you're going to have to sear ult immediately inside of the corner of the building potentially. But he's going for the scans instead before he ends up wasting that utility. But Lagiki understands the situation. They realized that last time there was a lot of different teams over here, but very interesting to see if they can get both of these reses off. Could end up being a little bit of a mistake as the scan happens, and this is a very popular building going locked down. But when we saw the minimap when production pulled that up, this is a majority where the congestion is going to be. So this fight's going to last a decent amount of time.
I wonder what the comms are like, because, yeah, they just let them reset, but like you mentioned, this is a really strong building to hold with the circle already closing in. Instead of just trying to contest them before they can get the full res, yeah, there is another squad. Actually, there's another POI right here. This is another squad fighting, has the high ground, barely having to drop down from that ground too. GIB was one of the squads, I think they were the first ones to go down in that first game. So that team literally on the ropes as Leave No Witness with the perfect timing on their third party now roll in. We saw what Kriv was able to do with the Nemesis and Prowler. Now he's got the R9 and Nemesis in his hand with the TG threat ready to go.
One of my favorite movement players that we've seen so far. Turns was really turning up. We know what MJ is able to do, as we've highlighted him a handful of times, but Kurov, I like the way this guy moves. I mean, he's even going to run into the lava because he doesn't care. He needs to go and collapse on this as he has the player's weak. But you could just see he has practiced this before. I'm pretty sure he plays Apex.
And you know what? You got to call it out for what you see right now, because that Newcastle is about to get beamed. He did manage to pull up a shield cell at the very end right here. The Kriv just waiting on the other side. Says, okay, you can blow up that door for right now, but I'm going to be able to rotate on the other side while my team is going to be able to pinch you. GIB, they get taken down. 14 squads left here on this game number 2 on World's Edge, and it looks like the action has not slowed down. You know that Leave No Witness, they land where there's a replicator off the rip in their POI, and Lagiki, who backed off of that previous fight that we currently saw go down in Lava Fisher, have now made their way to Thermal Station because they want to see if they can have any opportunity to get a third party.
You know, I'm going to ask a very boomer question right now as we set up for this fight. What is LA? I have to know what LA is. Is it like the geeky? We're geeky?
You know?
I don't know.
I actually can't even answer that because I feel like it's a variation of like, I don't know, actually. I'm just trying to think about it. It just comes off the tongue as French. I feel like it'd be something to say at the start of a word that you would say. La. Honestly, they're here though, and they're backing off because there's another fight that they're calling off. Very passive-aggressive playstyle from Lagiki, who looks like they're trying to engage, but they're not trying to overextend, which is always nice if you don't have information on where the other teams are in the vicinity. But it's about cutting off this team's rotation while still having the positional advantage on the high ground here.
This is a great spot to fight. A lot of teams end up pushing this one right up that hill. But it looks like their rotation may go over towards the backhand side of Tree through the choke and playing a little bit safe. So Lagiki, unfortunately, I don't think is going to be able to stay here much longer as they go and realize, all right, it's time to rotate. This team's out of here. Let's find out where our next fight is going to take place. Is it going to be Harvester? Potentially over towards the staging side as we jump on board with Team Tyson. Loot is looking good. Double purples and a gold armor. Has got a fully decked out wingman. The red dot with the skull piercer. Purple mag, R9 cruising. Definitely going to be feeling himself.
And his movement here too. We saw what Cruisin was doing earlier on the horizon. Nice pick that we've been seeing, a variation out here when it comes to legend comps with the black hole and the catalyst wall. That's basically been the answer that we've seen a lot of these players opt for. They're holding the nice high ground and a different off angle than Cruisin before sliding right back down. Trying to contest this team while making the rotation into this next circle. Doesn't look like they have the information of that next circle, but of course, we tune into Razor. This is where their POI is. It's all a fragment. They get all the loot, and they have the circle on top of that. So no reason to get off of this construction site building, and it looks like it's actually being infiltrated by another team who made the rotation in here.
It's interesting that Razor has elected to pick this building because they had any pick of the fragment buildings overall. And after looting all of fragment, I'm a little upset at the armor situation over here. Now they're coexisting with Team Intel, two partnered squads trying to make their way up on that overall leaderboard. And this fight may go down here very soon, especially with the explosive compositions that they're running. You can see the Catalyst wall go down eventually. You can see the Seer ultimate pop down, but you do have Horizon on the other side that could end up countering them if they get the information that they're looking for. So this is a pretty sticky situation for both teams.
Oh, Flinzer falls incredibly low. The Seer ult is forced to get called off, but was this just a bait to force Seer ult? For Seer ult using a lot of equipment right now. They've made that player on the other side also incredibly low on the high ground currently, but Intel, who's going to try to engage here? Flinzer's the only one really with the mobility to try to fly in and fly out with the jetpacks. But Jet, just crouching, trying to get out of that sight of the Seer ults. Just waiting patiently. They know exactly where they are, but they're forced to reset here.
While this fight's taking place, it's really important to also find out if any third parties are coming down. So we'll have to find out if other teams have started making the rotation, because this is where the zone's pulling. We already saw the scan onto zone number 2. We all know it's suicide to go from the top to the bottom. If anything, the teams from the bottom usually make their way over towards the top as we start circling through some of these other teams. And wow, another bad armor situation. All of Lava City, all of Mirage Voyage, double blues and a white. Wizard Coin taking some damage. They have to go and pop that battery. Fortunately, they do have a decent amount of heals. Trading a Phoenix kit, which is smart. Save that battery. Typically, Phoenix kits, especially in the Seer meta, have gone a little bit out of style because how long that thing takes to pull off. But Lagiki's on the run now. We already were on board with them as they made the rotation, but they're pinched in between. One of the worst spots to potentially be pinched inside of this Volt Tunnel. Turns comes in with the damage. Another player comes on the backhand and takes them out as well. This is going to result in a fight coming in from these two teams. All 3 players' death boxes on top of one another. And Turns was a solo throughout all that. Remember, his team was taken out. He goes, you know what, guys? I can pull this one off by myself. He has 3 kills as a solo.
Are you kidding me? What has been happening in the world of Turns? This is actually crazy, especially after we saw him frag out of his mind in a 1v3 situation in game 1. Yeah, it resulted in him dropping down. He did get res at the end with a mobile respawn, but Aegon by AOC are literally living their last lives onto Turns. He's just going to be waiting in Harvester. He's going to be healing on the outside of the circle. His previous squad, though, they don't have the information that it's just a solo, so they just opted to back up. They want to be able to rotate here, not take as much damage from the circle, and use more meds if they have to, especially if there's no replicator in the middle of this rotation. And this circle being pulled towards the high, or rather the north side of Fragment West, means that these teams could also ping at them when this squad is forced to rotate through that next choke point.
Low-key, pretty sure I said we saw one over towards Climatizer. Maybe we'll see a Fragment one. I'm going to just predict game number 3 zone right now, all right? That thing is going to go Thermal Station. We're going to see a game number 3 Thermal Station. Connie, type it into, you know, whatever you got to type it into. Get inside the coding over there. Let's make a Thermal Station zone happen as Team Razor slowing things down just for a little bit. As you see, LNW gets a knock onto MJ. That's going to be with the Nemesis. The res happens, and another grenade ends up landing down. This is Mike and Ike a little bit on the ropes. Baylor ult isn't going to connect, but the fight takes place inside of the broken building. Big shots from Kurov. He's got the movement. He's got the movement. Wizard Coin ends up going down. Mike and Ike down to 1 player.
I'm very much enjoying Kurov's movement and his ability to just frag out right now inside of these buildings, utilizing the Digi threat, the Bangalore smokes. He's literally getting on top of the high ground to reposition himself currently right now. Is about to pop this ultimate accelerant to get another set of the Rolling Thunder that he just used earlier on. Right now, with Leave No Witness having the high ground here, they were traveling from the construction building site now all the way to what I call the streamer building out here, the broken building, where they're going to be able to clean up anybody else that is in the middle of trying to rotate here.
Love watching Leave No Witnesses play as Razor needs to slow things down and get through this Watson fence. Uchaku gets a knock on to Talus. Multiple fights taking place as Flinzar gets involved as well with the Prowler, and a little bit of a controller issue right there. Felt that one. As you can see, Trev Stacks ends up getting dropped, and McDonald's Wi-Fi on the ropes is adept. He's got the Maggie inside of the building. Is so important to throw that wrecking ball, but Razor is looking like they want to collapse here very shortly. Right now, the problem is the Seer ultimate is stopping them from going inside. So once that goes away, maybe we're going to see some moves. You can see the Horizon Black Hole is there. Shots coming into the air, and NorCal going down. The Nemesis 3x control from Bursty.
It's a bird, it's a play. No, it's a flying death box landing at their feet. What a nice little surprise right there. Now NTC, another team rotating on this northern side of the circle. A nice angle, but they're forced to give up the high ground, and Amigo falls so low, almost landing on top of the Catalyst spikes. It's Lonely Fans that are circle keeping them, and the tick damage here coming in from the Thermite. He doesn't have a Digi threat on the Prowler, but it's fine. They have the health advantage. He's shooting up into the air, shooting ghosts. It's looking like another episode of Phasmophobia, and NTC get cleaned up by Lonely Fans.
Here comes a third party from Tyson. Can we talk about how goated those spikes were from A? They have one door fortified, but they didn't get the back doors here, taking a ton of damage, and this is where Catalyst is so important. Smart move to go on over towards the high ground. They meet each other on the stairs. Multiple shields are going to be broken. Syracuse going down, and Lonely Fans gets dropped by Team Tyson. Very well-timed third party. But here comes the fourth party. It's going to be potentially the Bangalore smokes over towards the balcony to try to stop them, but not enough damage coming in from Kodagami. More or less of a, hey, back off. We need some time to loot. They're going to gain control of a building that also is inside of the zone if they want to slow play this one. You can see where the zone is going to pull over towards that replicator area. Most likely going to end over towards that market as 8 squads remain. What an absolute bloodbath we just had. Multiple squads getting eliminated. Tyson, though, much needed points as they move into 10th place.
And if it isn't the market here, T, it's going to be pulling towards that bridge, and we know what those final circles could look like, especially for the teams that already were ahead of the curve and were able to rotate inside of that broken building that is right next to the bridge on the other side of where Leave No Witness is. They're looking at the other team on the outskirts of this circle. Nemesis in hand. We've seen what Kriv has been able to do, but he's keeping his distance while keeping the high ground, having the positional advantage for right now.
And this is the perfect weapon, Vicky, for this situation, because if they end up peeking, the Nemesis with the 2-4 is going to demolish them, and the burst fire through that little peak that they're trying to get on top of the stairs is going to be huge. As the smokes land, he can cut off one angle, force them out into the other. I think that's a genius play. The zone is closing. This is where their focus needs to be, but as soon as that happens, they end up getting shot from the west-hand side. So he has to smoke that off as he focuses his fight directly over towards the train station. Straight Simpin ends up getting dropped. They go out in 8th place. Kurov becoming one of our Series E beasts here as Team Intel makes their move. The shots from the Prowler. We're seeing more and more Prowler, Vicky.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We see the knock here too, but Flintstar gets put into the line of sight of the squad that's taking some shots at him. It's the Mad Maggie who called in the Warden as the wall comes up.
Huge wall.
Yeah, huge here. That's the insurance that they needed, because now they have to rotate inside this next circle that they were right next to, thankfully. Reset if they can't. Oh, they can't get Flintstar, though. Flintstar, unfortunately, can't get res. He was on the outside of that circle. He was already low because they were taking shots at him after he got knocked. Despite that, though, they put down the wall, and they have the Moby. Now we could all eat out here. That's why the Moby being in the replicator is always so nice for that weekly rotation that just changed this past Sunday. But again, that wall was big. Still, the Droke comes out. Icy's taking some extra damage. If it's not the circle damage, he's forced to take the missile damage here. The drill doing enough to allow McDonald's Wi-Fi to collapse on Intel. That was all because Adept was on the Mad Maggie. Now the third party rolls in, and it's No Name.
That riot drill couldn't have been placed any better. Unfortunately, not able to get the Moby off. This is a 2 versus 3, and they're continuing to do it. Cruisin comes in with the R9, the flank happening. Chickies is the last one alive as Team Tyson starts to push in for their back-to-back third parties. Perfectly timed knockdown shields being used to perfection. No Name going out in death boxes on top of death boxes in the corner as another team makes their way around the corner. That's McDonald's Wi-Fi. I'm T-Don. Ends up getting dropped by Brutus as well. Absolute chaos over here towards Fragment West. I'm sure Fragment East is looking a little bit more peaceful.
This is insane. Leave No Witness now while they were causing chaos in Fragment East, in the streamer building, now want to get involved in the party that they did not get the invitation for. They're going to be able to hang out inside of this exact broken building that I made mention of. Kirv gets beamed. He does have a blue shield swap right there, but he doesn't need it for right now. He gets cut off, though, in the middle of trying to heal up. Calling in the Creeping Barrage as the third party. It's the squad that they wanted to circle keep, have now made their way to pinch Leave No Witness. They fall incredibly low, but they cannot give up this building. They may be forced out, though, eventually, now that there's literally the meat to the sandwich that they do not want to be part of.
Unfortunate timing for them as they got pinched at the exact time that 2R1C made their way over from that west side. We already saw one Rolling Thunder. There goes the second Creeping Barrage. And you know that the Digi-Threat is going to be on top of this wingman, absolutely slapping for Uchaku. It's a matter of time before they get collapsed on by Tyson. There goes some big hits, 80 and 40 onto the shields, plus a double tick. Dude just did about 300 damage with one ult.
And look at the follow-up too from BJ. Gets the knock onto Pyrrhus right here too on the other side. Kira falls incredibly low while they're trying to focus on the fight in front of them. Meanwhile, Uchaku's gonna take some shots with the wingman. 3 squads left, and right now 2R1C are in the god spot of this next circle. But they cannot let either of these squads reset if they want to try to engage on each other from afar.
Perfect execution there with the knock onto Stankini. Uchaku starting to heat up. Knows that the enemy player most likely has a Digi-Threat, so he's gonna back off, hit that battery. VJ has one as well on top of that wingman. PK in the back pocket like it was season 1. And they do have the Wraith portal here, which is huge. So if they want to go inside of the zone, they can just take their sweet time. But the way that this is playing out and the aggression that we're seeing, I think 2R1C isn't going to let that zone close. They're just going to collapse. Look how weak everybody is. Battery being popped. 2 players are trying to get the res from that respawn beacon, but it's just a slow play at this point. They understand from 2R1C, all they have to do is lock down this broken building, share their meds, share the resources, and force these 2 teams into one another.
I like the fact that they're not fully engaging here. They don't want to give up not just their spot, their positioning, but they're angled in a way where they can cut off the rotation once these 2 squads are forced to collapse on each other while rotating closer into that middle circle where 2R1C is holding. Nice patience being displayed right here, and I love how you talked about the portal, because that's why they could position themselves in such an aggressive way without having to fully engage. They just back off with the portal once the circle starts closing in behind these 2 players. Tyson get eliminated. It's going to be 2R1C versus Leave No Witness.
Leave No Witness. They drop down some smokes, but they don't realize there's the triple Digi-Threat team making their way. Plus, the Seer ultimate is going to be used. A couple players are going to be weak. This is when the PK ends up coming out. VJ takes a lot of damage. Can't really see, but he's still shooting through the smoke. One player gets dropped from both teams. Leave No Witnesses. Put up a good fight. But in the end, it's the team from EMEA. 2R1C making their way over from Fragment East over towards the west-hand side. And again, that Digi-Threat inside of the Crafter is changing all of the dynamic tonight inside of Series E.
And the redemption, too, from this squad after going down a little early in that first game, taking game number 2 with a good amount of KP to their name. They played that last fight amazingly, too. Despite the other players on the other side being incredibly low, they didn't have that set of information with everybody playing so split away from each other outside the circle. Little to no cover in that final circle, too, once you're forced to get out of the corners of that circle. So 2R1C played that really nicely at the very end.
And our partner teams kind of taking turns showcasing their display of talent, as we saw Mike and I kind of pop off in game number 1, Razor getting the win. Team Intel had their moments, but it was Team Tyson, surprisingly, this game, and then turns as a solo, putting in some work as you see the damage and the kill total overall. That's going to be big for 2R1C, who didn't have the best game number 1, but they bounced back here in game number 2. Vicky, you brought it up earlier, one of our top 3 teams in the ALGS. EMEA coming through with the Wraith, Bangalore, and Seer, and you can see the value again in the comfortability that they have on Wraith, because in any instance, if they wanted to drop a portal, slow play it, and play the zone, they could, but they also have the aggressiveness that they need. All 3 legends, realistically, extremely aggressive. Seer, one of the most aggressive in terms of our support legends, and then you have 2 assault characters with Wraith, with Bangalore. They're going to be able to push forward and kind of get in your face, doing that entry fragging overall. Chaku with 2k damage overall, really putting the team on his back.
Chaku always having their pop-off moments. Also finding a way to survive even if he loses out on 2 of his teammates. Love to see the legend change up on the composition here too. I love seeing Wraith make her way back into the meta right now with that portal buff, being able to go double the distance versus how it used to be before. This is what I love to see from the squad. This is what I like to see being utilized here when it comes to either having the Catalyst, the Bangalore, like you mentioned, the Digi-Threat being in the Replicator is going to influence a lot more Bangalore in these lobbies, because why not at this point, especially if you're seeing a lot more Horizons there too. I would say that the Horizon has been utilized, at least from what we've seen from TSM and how they've used the Horizon, as the Black Hole being the counter to the Dark Veil that Catalyst has. With that ult, just throw down that black hole and you just have everybody scooped up into it. It's nice to see the change up though, and with the different legend compositions.
Yeah, plus you can get the height in that instance too. Plus Maggie came through in the clutch numerous times. We're going to toss this one on over to Yeso, get his thoughts on game number 2.
I'm right there with both of you. Teams mixing things up on the compositions, and I think Vicky pointing out a very good point because the Catalyst is so prevalent right now, and we're seeing all of these dark veils being dropped on top of each other and trying to find those tools to deal with it, and maybe the black hole is one of them. Vicky making a very good point right there, so we'll have to see if maybe the Horizon starts to rise back into prevalence to deal with that Catalyst. But it's 2R1C here with the win in game number 2. And this is very interesting because if you go back a week ago, 2R1C are here, and they won a pretty dominant first game of the day. And then they were largely invisible for the rest of the day. And this sets up a similar scenario for me. Not a great game one, but they put up a few points. Now they get a nice solid win here in game 2, cleaning up all of the chaos there in that final circle. And now the question for me is, with 4 games remaining, can 2R1C carry some momentum here? Because very specifically, I think they had, an okay performance in game 6 last week, but very much the 2 games after they won last week, they were out very early, really didn't make almost any noise. And what I want to see here today is, I don't need a win necessarily from 2R1C in game 3 or game 4, but they really need to come out and still put up a couple of solid performances following this win. You cannot just kind of disappear into the smoke after this victory if you want to perform at the top of these standings. So 2R1C, talented players, big EMEA talent, as T-Squared was mentioning, need to see Yuchako, Hiraka showing up big time in these next couple of games. I don't need to see a win, but I need to see 2R1C having an impact on this lobby outside of this singular win. Big thing to see from them. We'll keep an eye on it here as the night continues. But before we do that, let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance moment. And it's some of the chaos that was going down here in this late circle. Of course, Intel trying to find some cover, looking to go for a res. And it's now time for almost the entire lobby to just pile into this one little corner of fragment. You see McDonald's Wi-Fi going in, they clean up Intel. Now it's No Name's turn, peeking around, trying to use that digi threat here through the smokes, but unfortunately going down here when they're trying to get off a battery. Now it's Tyson's turn to come in and deal with No Name as teams are just falling left and right. And somehow, some way, Tyson gets in for the 4th party. They clean up No Name. They finish off McDonald's Wi-Fi. And we get some sort of result after all of this absolute chaos. And it's so funny because it's this very small angle because you really don't want to try and climb up, right? It's difficult to climb up the higher edge there, and it puts you at risk of getting just beamed before you could get your gun out. So you really have to take this singular peek and deal with the zone damage, deal with that very narrow line of sight that these players can respond from. And Tyson is able to time this push perfectly to clean up No Name, and then they pick up this final member of McDonald's Wi-Fi to resurrect the rest of this fight. But it was kind of chaos there. We just had teams dogpiling each other in this one spot, and you end up with almost a dozen death boxes there in one small area. Ultimately, Tyson gets the win in that fight. They don't get the win in the game, but still some solid points. Let's see where they stand on our Mobile One leaderboard here going into game number 3. Razor, of course, getting taken out by Intel, not able to repeat as winners here in game 2, but still putting up a few points, but Leave No Witness with a very strong second game here, actually jump ahead on the leaderboard. They don't grab the win, but they still are up by 3, and 2R1C put themselves firmly in that top 3 with a very, very big victory. Lonely Fans also getting some points to keep themselves inside of that top 5. And Tyson, very important for them, jumping up into the mix with that performance. So some very big moves by a handful of different teams there in game number 2 means that as we get ready to end the action on World's Edge with our next game, we'll have to see who ends up on top when we head over to Stormpoint. We'll have game number 3 when we come back.
One more game remaining on World Jets. She Squared and Vicky Kitty bringing you the action. We've seen some pretty dominant gameplay from two teams to start. It was Razor in game number 1, 2R1C, two different zones. Vicky, we didn't jinx it. We know it's going to Thermal Station as well. Overall thoughts on the first two games?
Well, seeing our partner squads doing amazing and kind of mix matching which one is going to be on top is always nice to see. Team Tyson coming in third place in game number 2. That's fantastic out here. But with a chaotic final circle for both game 1 and game 2, despite it being different, has left this lobby looking like a bloodbath in some of the spots that we've been seeing.
And I can't wait to see what happens when we go to Storm Point too, because that map absolutely turns up. But we have to go through and break down some of our greatest plays that we've seen so far. And one of our players, you know, the Bangalores are really popping off. That's one of the things that we've seen with the DigiThreat being inside of the Crafter. I don't think I've ever seen a day in Series E where the crafting rotation made such a huge difference. And I'm not sure if what the players are playing, but definitely the way that they're utilizing the Legends.
Yeah, let's talk about Kurev out here. I know we were talking about him earlier before, but he has been dancing, moving like he's getting shot at on Bangalore, slipping and sliding, and utilizing that DigiThreat like you were talking about. Having the DigiThreat in a lobby that has a lot of Bangalores has definitely been coming up out here, because with that replicator, not only having the DigiThreat, but also having the mobile respawn, it's nice to be able to take advantage of that to just make up some extra makeshift cover, or if one of your teammates goes down, you could call that in real quick. That didn't work very well for one of our teams, though, in game number 2 after what we witnessed with the Mad Maggie coming out too. So we've been seeing a lot of different legend compositions coming in, whether it be the Wrecking Ball from the Mad Maggie, the Horizon with the Gravity Lift over the Dark Veil from the Catalyst into the Black Hole, or even, the Dark Veil that we've been seeing from these Catalysts to block out vision to try to see if they can get a safe res going on.
Yeah, that wall that Intel put up was phenomenal, but then it ends up getting countered by Maggie, so he ends up shooting the Riot Drill into the perfect spot in the wall. I've never seen a more perfect Riot Drill, where he's either, you're eating damage from the Riot Drill, you're either forced your way inside of to where the players' lines of sights are, or you're taking zone damage from zone number 4. It really doesn't get much better than that. We haven't seen the utilization of the Wrecking Ball that much. We haven't seen many skyward dives, if anything, so it makes you wonder, you know, is Wraith the pick that we're seeing from 2R1C because of that extended portal that we've highlighted? And speaking of 2R1C, third place overall, landing over towards Climatizer. I don't believe they're getting 50-50'd, and hey, after watching them fight, if they did take you out in the 50-50 before, why would you want to go and do that? Landing on top of the assault bin, you can see what Chaco's thought process is. Going to be getting some extra loot from those bins, and the 2x is going to be huge if he can get that one on top of the alternator, but he leaves it, surprisingly. One of the best scopes in the game. Probably going to just ping that one for his teammates. We saw the 50-50 happening with Intel in the previous game. They were able to win that one. Doesn't look like, based on how Jet is moving, that they are going to be taking another 50-50, so most likely this team's going to back off. But as soon as I say that, there goes the Seer Q through the wall, and it is on.
Played through the Matrix, though, after that Seer Q comes out, just chancing off to the little side of it. Tries to get some information himself. There you go. You can see that other player on the other side. Still white Evo shields on the other side, just as Intel is rocking here. Bangalore Smorks coming out, but maybe no DigiThreats just yet, especially since the replicator hasn't been used, since this is the other team on the other side here. Intel now trying to take control over the bins, trying to take natural cover, trying to get out of the line of sight of that player. Gets that crack, but Flinzer falls low himself.
So tough to use a 30-30 without the scope on it. Alternator PK, much more my vibe in the hands of Icy, but nobody ends up having their ultimates because the game just started. But if this one keeps going on, you wonder, is that third party potentially going to come from 2R1C and Climatizer? Last time they took this fight extremely fast. It's going to be the knock coming in from where? Mav locking down the wingman, one of the best weapons that you can have off the rip, drops Flinzar. And now it's time to reheal up. Has plenty of cells, but there goes the Seer Q. Gonna stop Mav just temporarily. They do not hit the res quite yet, but you can see some nice catalyst spikes. Ends up cutting off the left-hand side. And those catalyst spikes take a while to get rid of. It takes over 200, 250 damage to be able to take those out. So with little ammo in the beginning of the game, it makes it difficult as Turns finds a knock. Icy finds a knock onto Anxiety. Great flank coming in from Intel over towards the left building. And the push from Mav is going to be just slowed down temporarily because he understands that he has someone over the back end side. 86, 45, 41. Mav just going insane.
That was insane, too. Also called out, I want to know what those comms sound like because he jumped on top of Dundee's Q right on time, dances over the side of the wall, and he cleans up Team Intel.
Wow.
There's some tactical crouching. You're feeling yourself, as you should, but this fight took way too long because look who's rolling in from Climatizer. It's 2R1C. They know it's a duo after that set of information off of the Seer Q. He gets the crack with the Nemesis, and he sees him right through the smoke since he's still highlighted. While in the feed, another team goes down. It's McDonald's Wi-Fi. 17 squads left. It looks like we are not slowing down anytime soon here on this last game of World's Edge.
It's heartbreaking for Mav considering how clean that was. I mean, you can't really get any better than how he played that one. Ends up taking the player down behind him, takes his shields down so he can advance, hits 2 shots on the guy directly in front of him. Meanwhile, Mike and I duking it out over towards the big mod area. And it looks like they're just going to have to run. It's Silent by himself. They've already lost out on MJ. Wizard Coin's been knocked. T2's biggest fan going down by Reptilian with the charge rifle. Maybe Silent's going to be able to loop back around for these banners. The good news for him is that Wizard Coin is fairly staggered from MJ. So if they take a while to thirst, then they should have an advantage in terms of being able to get those banners. Aegon by AOC over towards the tree side. Turns, massive damage, but you know what? Turns has switched Legends. He was on Bangalore originally, and now he's switched on over to Horizon, the Turn special, as he switches back and forth more than anybody inside of Series E, but it's Cruisin' getting dropped. Nice Havoc shots coming in from Forrest. It's interesting. Unless you have that turbocharger, you don't really see anyone else picking up the Havoc.
I love the off angle. I love the shots after the Zero has been called in. Turns, though, was out in the open and gets beamed by Kodagami here. Yeeting that grenade up in the air as Orioles is going to be able to get on top of the high ground, sliding right back down. Trying to see, he sees exactly where he's at. He gets the finish onto Cruisin'. Another player off to the other side, but in a very similar position to where Turns is. He's playing off the rocks this time, though. Nice off angle from Forrest Sweat, but he gets focused down. He finishes off that last player. Copian get eliminated. Tyson also out of this lobby here, too. This is the team that just recently got third. They're going to be able to get the res after that previous game now. And 14 squads left with Razor in another fight. It is non-stop action here. We haven't even been able to look at the overhead map.
Halo gets dropped. Razor now pushing inside of the Dorito building in the no-name vicinity. Wall goes down, so Bursty can decide if he wants to push left or right. Gets scanned by the Seer Q. But you're right, Vicky. This has been non-stop action overall, and we may even see a third party coming here because this fight isn't ending as fast as they've been hoping for on Razor until they push through that wall. Boren says, you know what? We are here to play. They took game number 1. Here comes the third party. They need to hit an armor swap. We'll find out if that wall is going to give them the cover that they need because Lonely Fans is now starting to push. The problem for Lonely Fans, they don't have the armors for this fight, and there goes the Catalyst wall. Perfect job reinforcing that wall on top of the door. Now Lonely Fans is going to have to reevaluate how they push in here.
Yeah, because now this team is going to be able to reset perfectly. They have information as well off the spikes that Lonely Fans still has a White Evil shield on the other side. That's Blueberry. So that take damage though. Seer attack for Seer attack. As Lonely Fans are just going to wait patiently. They have the information now. They see it's 2 blue Evos, 1 purple Evo. They're at the health disadvantage, but how long do you want to take this fight before you call it? Before hitting a little wall bounce right now, A is just going to be able to back off. They know that this is taking way too long, and they're just going to wait in the distance. Take some shots. Nice G7 shots right there. Gets the crack and gets the knock. Lonely Fans now need to take advantage. Fully send it on to here. Gets the beat with the Prowler. Are you serious right now? Buddha says, it's okay. I'm a one-man army before the rest of Lonely Fans moves in and wipes out Razor despite having the health advantage.
You can't really play that any perfectly. Then Lonely Fans just said you should not be losing that if you're Team Razor, but it started with those phenomenal scout shots from A, who's been putting on a clinic on this Catalyst. His spikes were amazing in game number 2. We saw when they were pushing down the hill from Epicenter over to Fragment West, his placement that he was going to be able to have. And then as soon as they peaked on the Razor side, they just got absolutely ripped. But then the Prowler shots from Buddha is where the money was at. As we take a look at where the zone's going to be pulling, it's going to be over towards the west-hand side over here. So it kind of trickled down, Vicky. We made a line all the way from Climatizer into Frag. Now going on over towards staging in Landslide, you can see where the teams like LNW are going to meet up with NC. You also have Turns and his squad over towards the Harvester side going to meet up with another team. Buddha and the rest of his team still healing from Lonely Fans in that zone as they go and potentially hit a scan and find out that KLG is going to be making their way over from Geyser to them.
Yes, Kraken's Lair Gaming, who are see that the squad is still over there, but they're on the safety of the inside of this next circle. They could try to circle keep if anything. It's definitely going to be a fight that's going to be happening in the middle of this rotation. We said that they're looting the small bins over on the other side of No Name. Another team fight happening over by Harvester. Here are the shots, though, that you see being taken onto Kraken's Lair. There's going to be a fight waiting to get engaged on.
Smart to back off after what we just saw. I mean, you don't want to take a fight when this team from Lonely Fans is heating up. The 2x on the Scout, sometimes it just feels like without that recoil, and the gun has the same recoil every time, but it's just a mental thing when you have these scopes. The 2.4, the 3, it just seems like it bounces around a little bit more. With that 2x, it keeps it steady. As you see the gold Nemesis in hands for Kirov and Vicky, I think that, you know, they're becoming like a caster favorite. I know we're not supposed to play favorites, but I love seeing new players come in, and I love the way that Curve's been playing.
His loot RNG is also fantastic. Their POI is amazing because in the last game, I think he had a gold R9. It wasn't even the big mod R9. It was just the gold R9. So now he's rocking the gold Nemesis. Managing to scout to the south, waiting to see which of these squads are going to be rotating away from Harvester. It's important because there was a team that was fighting there, so they could try to contest a squad that is forced to rotate in that direction, but they can't fully engage with this other team right to their north, rocking the Watson fences, setting up that perimeter, are right there to try to contest them and have the time in the third party. Depending on where this circle is going to be pulling, they'll leave no witness, have a good amount of options when it comes to the rotation. Talking about their positioning, seeing that they just got scanned by a survey beacon, they're looking to their south just to double check. But they can go long, right back to where Mirage Voyage is and try to rotate through that side, if anything. 2R1C and another fight, non-stop out here as they're looking to see what they could do with the Seer ult now activated. The Bangalore smoke's also coming out. Looks like they just want to start rotating through Skyhook because then they could take their time with 20 seconds left on the clock to go through that tunnel and try to get a better positioning with the rotation.
It's a good point. Is NTC a team that can definitely heat up at any moment inside of the countdown area, realizes a team is directly across from them, so they have to reevaluate what's going down. Just kind of making a field goal with the spikes right there is Orioles, as he has the Nemesis R9 combo, also throws down that Seer ultimate, figures out exactly where these players are going to be, backs them off with the tactical, but some very well-placed spikes by the enemy team. They're also trying to make their way on over towards Force because they realize he is the solo away from the squad. Fight is taking a little bit long, though, so they have to figure out exactly how they're going to approach the situation. It looks like they're going to mimic their movement, get on over towards the zone, and try to take the high ground.
Ooh, Force falls low. He's literally one. He gets taken down. On the other side, it's Kraken's Lair now. Right behind them, getting one knock, make it two, leaving one player left on the other side. They're going to be able to also take onto the high ground without a Horizon Q. Just fly right over there with the jetpacks. See where the last player is before finishing off this team. And right there, you can't hide from us. You're going to get the finish on those last two players that they were able to get the knocks of them. But we did see that one last player from the squad managed to get away, hopefully out of the line of sight of Kraken's Lair. But with the Seer, it's going to be difficult to try to survive. Oriola is literally the last one here from Aegon by AOC alive. Forced to pop this shield bat and pinched between these two teams. Leave no witness, or literally leaving nobody left behind. Popping out the smoke says, that's our rat. We want that last player that's alive. He's only forced to either take up to the higher ground where the train tracks is, or rotate in our direction if he's running out of meds from the circle.
They've spotted him. Could we see a Yeet smoke in 10 seconds for the big 10 damage to tick this player? But most likely running low on health meds. That's going to be the key here. And leave no witnesses, ends up getting shot from the side. So Orioles, does he have the opportunity to go back? You could see the respawn directly in front of him. He's interested, but he's getting shot at as well. We know that the eyes were on top of him. He has the health meds that he needs to be able to get this one, Vicky, plus the 2 boxes to pick apart if they haven't taken everything. It's risky, though, because as soon as that res pops off, you know multiple teams are going to be on top of that. It's
huge that he has that extra med kit here, and Leave No Witness are really aggressive right now. They got extra loot that they can work with. They're in a situation where they're able to push onto this last member here if they need. Lagiki in the feed gets eliminated. They're going to be able to restabilize, as Orioles is also going to be able to get double the banner, get extra meds if necessary. He only has that 1 syringe, but he's got another med kit to work with. He doesn't pick up the meds, actually. He's still left with 1 med kit, 1 syringe. Now Force Yeah, yes, exactly, because they were able to loot their boxes before the last team had rotated away. But now they're stuck over on the edge of the circle, and it's Leave No Witness that knows he has to go in this direction.
And there is loot along the way. Doesn't look like there's going to be a replicator, but as soon as this res goes off, Vicky, don't you feel like Leave No Witnesses is going to turn back around? If they get distracted by a team in front of them, that's going to be the opportunity for Aegon by AOC. We'll see what the call is. Great shots right there from the 30-30, 2-4X going in onto the enemy seer on top of the bridge. And I highly doubt that they were able to rotate that quickly to get over there. I don't think that's going to be the solo from Aegon. That has to be a completely different team. As you see, multiple player outlines are going to start pushing forward. Leave No Witnesses taking a good angle. This is going to be NC. Thesar ends up going down. That buys time for Aegon by OC to hit the res inside of the zone. Team NorCal with the high ground on top of the bridge. Seer Ultimate ends up going down. That's going to be the enemy Seer ult happening as Zell's trying to stay alive, waiting for players to push up the zip line. It would be smart to maybe use that knockdown shield too if he can get over towards his teammate. And instead of getting that knockdown shield, his teammate takes it out a little bit late, but it doesn't matter. The shots are looking good. Here comes the zone. Zell's going to have to get a little bit more forward unless it's going to absolutely eat him alive. First knock on to Brutus. Leave No Witnesses goes down. 2v3, huge kills coming in for NorCal. They're going to have to leave Thesar, but he did some good information, giving out where the footsteps were coming from the enemy players. Aegon by AOC is who I'm interested in. Were they able to get that res? They were. Ooh. They got their loot back, and then they made it into the zone.
You love to see it, but here comes another team. They heard the res go. Oh, the beams coming in from Orioles off to the other side. Beautiful beam right there with the R9. Now taking an off angle with the Nemesis. He didn't one-clip him, but he did leave him incredibly low. As the Rolling Thunder comes in, that's from the other squad here. Trying to get out of the Seer ult. He beams another player over to the other side. It's the Seer. So we know that there's going to be a Seer and Bangalore. That's another team rotating in the direction of Aegon by AOC. Nowhere to run out here, while Force What is also forced to reset on that Valkyrie Skyward dive because he just got res. It's a difficult situation to be in, but not as difficult as Mav is forced to play, as Anxiety is out and so is he. We're get eliminated and there's 9 squads left in this lobby.
Such a big play to be able to get your teammates back into the game. Orioles now rewarded with that red armor. Mav, we saw him pop off with the wingman over towards Survey. We know that they lost one player. That's why he was outside of the lobby. They originally started with 3, but he ended up backing off as Aegon by AOC. Trying to figure out with 1 minute left, how are they going to get past this team in landside? They're going to have to fight their way out.
Ooh, double grenades getting sent. Arcstar and Nade. Force What falls low again, out of position in the open. He gets taken down first. Oriole is now trying to take some extra cover now into the circle. He has no choice. He has at least only 1 syringe left, so he doesn't really have the opportunity to keep playing on the outside of the circle, but losing out on both his teammates again. Unlucky, as it's lonely fans that are feasting on the rest of what's left of this team.
And Buddha's an absolute turret right now. Almost took down his 8th player of the game. Give this man 7 kills. We saw what he did in No Name with the Prowler. He's got Prowler, Card, absolute menace of a combo, most likely rocking double digi-threat, so a genius setup coming in from Buddha, playing to his advantages of what's inside of the crafter in conjunction with his legend, and he's looking to potentially set a record here. I feel like I just caster cursed him. Hopefully that's not the case, but Buddha's going nutty.
Now we can see the wall coming up, the Seer ult being activated. They see them right through the wall at the same time. They get the beam here with the R9 before backing off right now. Controversial sends out their own spikes. They're getting shot over by the side of Landside. We saw that there was 2 squads there already earlier on while that previous squad is trying to reset. NTC playing off the other side. The Seer ult not on board anymore, so they don't have that set of information. They really only have the Bangalore smoke for some extra cover. As Enemigo falls low, he's able to reset behind the box.
A quote from Buddha: "To live a pure, unselfish life, one must count nothing as one's own in the middle of abundance." Buddha has abundance in kills. Talus now on the run. This is going to be a difficult situation to get out when 2R1C, the team in first place after Razor was dropped. NTC going out, No Name going out, and the zone pulling directly towards where 2R1C is going to be looking for back-to-back games. Wall goes down as well. Buddha has the Rolling Thunder in hand. Multiple players inside of the Seer scans as well. It's going to be KLG with the push onto Lonely Fans, and they're gonna have to back off. Buddha realizes the situation. He has double smokes if he wants to go and use that. But in terms of the zone moving, it's 59 seconds here. So a little bit of a difficult situation. Plus, multiple teams could be in the backhand side, helping them shoot KLG. Unfortunately for Buddha, he's not able to make that slide on over towards the high ground. But he is going to take an off angle. Still, again, has his 2 smokes if he wants to go and use that one. Has the shots, has 1,500 damage. At this point, what is the play here for Buddha? I think that he wants to go for the 2v3.
Let's see, I'm trying to see what his plan is. Can they also recover the banner? It's not a priority, but he's putting in the beamage. Despite losing out on their catalyst and not having the wall for this rotation, the good news is he's got the smokes. So with the Bangalore, they're going to be able to smoke themselves out. Maybe sneak in a res. Oh, he thought about it. He thought about it before Silent took some shots on him. But Silent is a solo. They could capitalize off of this. If they take care of Silent right here, they could have their teammate try. No, he's going to try to do it. Yep, he is. He's going to try to get the res. The cancel from double sear Q's. Are you kidding me? Silent says, I just got griefed. Not just by 1 sear, but by 2 sears. He's literally still alive, but not for long. Uchaku finishes that one last player from Mike and Ike. Uchaku was going crazy earlier in the feed. You saw those arc stars putting in a lot of that pressure. Kraken's Lair is busy with a fight themselves while that res is happening right behind him.
That buys time for Lonely Fans to get the res off, similar to what happened by Aegon by AOC. NorCal goes down, a sliver of health. That kill should go on over to 2R1C, and now we have a straight up 3-on-3 for the win. 2R1C, winners of game number 2. Lonely Fans in second place. This is a huge fight for positioning, Vicky.
Kidding me. They got him up. He's still alive. Nice smoke out here. Throwing out the spikes. Trying to dance. Trying to move behind the rock. Take some extra cover as the Rolling Thunder moves in. Now this is the opportunity for 2R1C to get back-to-back wins. Finish off what is left right now from Lonely Fans. They get 1 knock. They get the second knock. The trade by trade, though, the RE45 from Hierarcha is going to be able to come out on top as they clean up the last member of Lonely Fans, 2R1C. They managed to take back-to-back wins from Game 2 and Game 3, the last game on World's Edge.
Similar to what they were doing in the Pro League, now doing it inside of Series E here on our open night. 2R1C putting on a clinic on how to play Apex. They didn't need the 20 armor swaps that they had. All they needed was a little bit of momentum and a push. Once they started getting that real estate, it was huge. I like the way that A was moving. He had a lot of different things that, showcased what Lonely Fans is all about. You have to give credit to Lonely Fans, though. They were in a tough spot. Double gray armors in blue going up against, I think it was Team Razor with 2 purples and a blue. They were able to win that fight. Buddha really started to turn up, got into that kill lead. They picked up a lot of kill points and pushed themselves up into second place. That was World's Edge for you. It was exciting all the way down to the finish. It started off hot. 6 teams were eliminated while round 1 was closing, and there is your overall total. Not as much damage as they had in the previous game, but still just as effective.
Yeah, and with 10 KP too. When 1 extra KP compared to the game 2 that they won with 9 KP is always the additional points that you love to see out here. 2R1C. You talked about them earlier in the pre-show, Tom. This team is strong for a reason. This is the reason why this team is also number 3 currently in the ALGS within the EMEA region. They've come out to play, and I love the way that they've been able to put on display what they can work with the Wraith, the Bangalore. It's about a change-up of the composition, and they have been able to make it work.
Mentioned it in the pregame show that if this team is able to get into the end zones, they have the most experience out of any team here to close things off. That's exactly what they did. And we close out World's Edge. We're going to take a quick break and send this one on over to Yeso to get his thoughts on game number 3.
I love the fact that while I know they're not watching the broadcast, I did issue a couple of challenges to a couple of different teams. Right off the top, it was talking about Team Razor really needing to kind of get on their horse, start strong, and take advantage of every single game they can to try and close that gap with Mike and Ike. They did that in spades in Game 1 with a strong Game 1 performance. Then you see 2R1C win Game 2, and I'm looking at that saying, okay, you won one of the first 2 games last week, and then you disappeared for a majority of the rest of the day. And I even said, I don't need to see a 2R1C win in the next couple of games, but I need to see them continuing to succeed with this style it to be a strong performer over the next couple games to really start to put some points on the board, build off of that victory, and continue from there. And not only did they do that, but they actually won back-to-back games. They closed World's Edge with back-to-back victories here, and that's what you need to see from 2R1C. And you hear Vicky talking about it, right? They had an incredible performance to start the split in EMEA Pro League. They carry that here into today, and they're looking really, really good. We will check that Mobile One leaderboard momentarily, but I imagine they're at the top. And I also have to give some credit to Lonely Fans, because this is a team where, like, we haven't seen Blueberry Smalls here in a while. It's been months since we've seen Blueberry compete in Series E, but they're coming out and they're showing up strong. So I absolutely love to see it. And 2R1C with two very, very impressive back-to-back victories here. I am a big fan of it. Let's take a look, though, at our Mobile One high performance moment here. And we're going to the late game. We're going to the finish here. 2R1C on the push. And Lonely Fans trying to find some cover, trying to buy some time, but that Seer scan is not going to allow those heals to get off. You get the double peek here to get 2 knocks, and then it's now the 3v1, and Buddha with, you know, back against the wall with the zone creeping in. You don't have a chance, right, in that 1v3. But ultimately, Lonely Fans getting themselves into another great position here in the end game, and just unfortunate that 2R1C got to bide their time, right? We saw a couple of different fights going on with 5 squads remaining, and 2R1C just got to hold their water, bide their time, and then get the push at the perfect timing. And unfortunately for Lonely Fans, they couldn't find that cover or breathing room quickly enough to get a bit of a reset before 2R1C went for the push, and that means that they came in stronger in the health department and with Lonely Fans on the back foot big time. Let's take a look at where that puts us on our Mobile One leaderboard. I imagine 2R1C up to the top, and there you have it, 47 points. But Lonely Fans on their heels, they're at 38, and Razor, bit of a larger gap, 14 points behind first place, but they still are in that top 3. They're tied with Leave No Witness. Meanwhile, Mike and Ike and Aegon by AOC with a little bit of ground to make up to threaten those top dogs, and it really has created this nice little separation. You've got your top 4 there at 33 points or higher, all the way up to 47, and then a bit of a gap. Teams need to make up quite a bit of ground. The good thing, still 3 games remaining. We're still yet to head to Storm Point, so there is time. But if you're one of those teams like No Name or anybody at 18 points or less, like Mike and Ike, Aegon by AOC, and the rest of the lobby, it needs to start now, because you will run out of time very quickly. So if anybody outside of that top 4 wants to make a challenge for the top of the table, it has to start in this first game on Storm Point. Do not waste any time. You need to show up and show out before time runs out. Well played from 2R1C. They're the back-to-back winners here so far tonight on Series E. We'll see if they can keep that rolling when we head over to Storm Point.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Welcome back, everyone, to Series E. We are moving on to Storm Point. We've kept you guys waiting long enough, so we want to tune right into the action. There's already 16 squads left, and so much has already happened here for game number 4. After 2R1C, they won back-to-back wins here, and now we're watching Team Intel take the Skyward Dive because it looks like they're in a pinch situation here.
They won't go for the Michael Jordan. The three-peat, see if they can do it, as Team Intel looks like they want to go past the action. A little bit of a tough spot, and this is why Valkyrie is so important. We didn't see many Skyward Dives on World's Edge, if any, Vicky. You know, I can't really remember. If you remember, let me know, but we go right on board in the game on Storm Point, first game on Storm Point, we immediately see one. It's tough to deal with the amount of teams that sit up on the high ground, especially with how elevation-based this map is. You have to make some serious moves with your Valkyrie, but Intel now in a little bit of a scuffle, in a little bit of a situation where his teammate eats the back of the grenade right there too. And Catalyst, so important in these situations. Seer ult ends up going down. There goes the wall coming in from Icy as well. Massive shots should connect if anyone starts to push forward, and no one can really see each other, but they're just guessing where everyone's at.
I love this. Yeah, nobody could see anything, but the fact that both these doors are reinforced doesn't mean anything for the team that's playing on the outside. Intel literally living off the land with their shields currently, just trying to reset. You can see Jet almost popping that shield bat, gets out of the line of sight of that Seer tack on the other side here, manages to pop it. Flinzer can't say the same thing here. Icy is doing a really good job playing off this pole in the middle because none of these teams can actually push right now with both of those Catalyst walls up. They both go down finally, and Intel don't have the opportunity to fully reset, but they have at least some time to breathe.
This fight is taking way too long. A third party potentially could go down. But this is why Catalyst is just so important. Walls get broken, they get back to reinforced. Spikes happening, double reinforced walls as well. Lonely Fans the outside looking in. We've seen this fight take place before from these two teams, and they're looking so healthy on the Lonely Fans side, but it looks like they want to back off. They understood the ticking time clock. That is Apex, and they're just going to reevaluate.
They're going to be able to just pull away for right now. I like this call, though, to disengage, especially here at this point of time. It's game number 4. It's the first game that you have on Storm Point. If you had a lackluster World's Edge performance, this is the time for you to try to mentally reset, try to get that momentum going. 15 squads still left here, and Lonely Fans looking great when it comes to these Evo shields that they've been able to build up. But I'm thinking about the loot here. No big bats or big meds in general other than the med kit that A is rocking. He's got the 5 shield cells, no syringes to his name, just playing up the windows with the 30-30 in his hand and a 2x4.
And it's so difficult to push a Catalyst, similar to a lot of these control legends like Caustic, Watson, etc. But Catalyst is probably the most difficult to go and push because those reinforced walls just take so long to move forward. And they realize, hey, you know what? This is, any other circumstance, any other composition, we'd be able to push this. But they back off, wait to see if there's a third party. They realize there isn't a third party. The one thing that can save them is finding a replicator, Vicky, based on what you were talking about. They need meds. No batteries in fights like this is very difficult to deal with.
Always so scary, but I do agree with just keeping the space here while we tune into some of our other teams making the rotation. Intel says, I'm out of there, want no business in there. Able to get Flinzer to get that shield swap that he got earlier, but now he gave up that shield that he had previously for that white Evo. Razor now also engaging in this fight, playing on the outside here of Jurassic Park. Trying to figure out where they want to start rotating here because there was that squad right to their south. They could try to circle keep this team. They have enough time here too if they want to get some extra loot. Blitz is just going to be able to ping that blue Evo for Bursty. Also get some big meds while he's out of here too. 15 squads left. And again, they see that that team is right in front of them. Catalyst while going up. FA players, they see right through it. The Seer ult just helps them out immensely, but they're going to get pinged right on the other side. That's why that team is still holding on to the edge of where FA players is going to be forced to rotate from and the other team on the other side.
These Rampage shots are ridiculous, just connecting from medium range, long range. You don't really see the Rampage be used that much, but it was one of the most broken weapons at a certain point in time in Apex, especially when you get that thermite going down. You can break down the walls. That's going to help counter Catalyst. So maybe we're going to see the return of the Rampage eventually. Another, pretty unpopular weapon that we've seen a little bit utilized today is that flatline. So 2 heavy weapons being used as Razor was down bad, but they started to pick up some loot along the way. That's what Storm Point's known for, having some really solid loot. But when we see where the zone's going to go, Intel gets eliminated. Looks like it's going to be pulling over towards the mill, and that's exactly where Kraken's Lair has been set up.
Good positioning here for Kraken's Lair, as well as the loot that they're rocking. Look at this. Got the purple energy mag on the Nemesis. You got the Prowler. Probably were able to get the Digi-Threat already crafted. Being by the mill, you know you have that replicator that's usually right there. They'll also take on top of the high ground, as well as the circle information that they get from the Catalyst, being the controller. Good spot here for this team. Other teams, though, looking on the outside of this circle. And how many teams are going to be fighting on the east side? Look at this. It's Razor. Currently see 3 free agents on the other side. Nellis and Bin are forced to play on the outside of Antenna after they were able to come out from that third party that they got involved with in Antenna. So many teams, though, playing on the outside of the circle. It's going to be a bloodbath once they have to get to that middle part of the map, going into this next circle where there's little to no cover on top of the water.
And Aegon by AOC is doing the armory, too, throughout all of this. They have to go through 2 R1C. And it's interesting to watch these two, high-level teams try to rotate from the same spot, because it makes you wonder, what type of information do they have? Do they feel like that southern rotation is the safest or the biggest advantage? Because it does have the high ground. There's a major rock that you could play, so you could oversee a lot of the action that's happening in the middle. Sometimes being in the middle a little bit too early is a disadvantage. We'll find out if they're going to be able to hold that going forward. The 4.8 scope on the charge rifle with the R99 in hand there for Brutus. And you're right, Vicky, that east side, that's going to see a majority of the action. One of the teams that we didn't talk about was Mike and Ike. They were still in the zone all the way over towards the northern side. They're going to be rotating north to south. They didn't have much friction moving on. So north, south, clear. West is where the zone already is. It's all about the east side.
See Team Tyson. They see a team that's rotating on the outside of the circle. They're trying to gatekeep this squad while playing by the edge. Looking at their team composition, this is one of those edge fighting squads. Rocking the Seer, the Valkyrie to get out of the fray, just in case you need a reposition with the Skyward Dive. I love how you mentioned the Skyward Dive earlier on for this game. So you're right, we didn't really see it utilized too much in World's Edge, but getting caught by the tree. Cruising gets taken down now, having to try to crawl away. Here comes the Seer ult. No engagement means that they have at least some insurance to try to get this res before the Seer attack says, no way, it's no name. Going wide, swinging right, putting up the Catalyst wall to help with that rotation.
Looks like the res is going to happen, though. It's so tough when you're healing inside of zone number 2. You want to push forward, but you have to heal all the way, as Leave No Witnesses doing exactly that. I love their team name because it's so true to their play style. Field goal inside of the Catalyst walls. Brutus realizing he got that knock. He didn't get the thirst yet, though, and it may cost them their life. Sometimes you get a little bit too aggressive over towards the edge of the zone, and multiple teams start showing up. Now Razor, a third team, shows up.
Oh, he's trying to avoid the grenade, but he still gets taken down. Grenade sent to his feet. You're dancing, you're moving, but Razor has you in their sights on the other side of this fight. It's unfortunate for Leave No Witnesses. They get eliminated here. 12 squads left, and Razor are playing off the low ground after their fight that is happening right on top of their heads. No Name are going to be able to get all this loot right now, but they don't have a Valkyrie. They don't have the Skyward Dive, so they are going to be forced to either drop down or take a little bit of circle damage if they want to wrap around the rock to their left. They'll have the meds to do it here, and they also have the smoke grenades from the Bangalore, so they'll be able to have some room to breathe right here when they make their next move.
I need help. Let's head that way.
And this is why we're going to start seeing all these Skyward Dives here, Vicky, because this is how Stormpoint ends up getting played. When you have such height disparities, you need to have a legend that's going to give you that get out of jail free card. Tyson's going to have to make a move, though. There's 30 seconds left. There's not enough time to be dancing around. This team's doing a great job above them of waiting to the very last second to force their hand, because they can get out whenever they want. They can hit the Skyward Dive, hit that Valk ult, and full send it. But this is the move. Cruisin's going to end up hitting some smokes. They make their way on over towards the building, gets the double time passive, and realizes, hey guys, it's safe over here. Let's find our positioning. Let's find our Skyward Dive and get out of here, because most likely their team's just going to do the same thing.
It's a good move here, too. Good decision, especially with Circle 3 now closing in. The survey beacon, though, is going to be Axis. Razor's going to know where it's coming from. And also, right call here, because that's going to be the indicator that they need to disengage. Whether they want to try to take that fight or not, it's about that positioning that's more important here. Especially looking at the composition that they're rocking. Much more edge-heavy team, as Orioles gets one knock here onto one of the players right below his feet. Aegon by AOC, playing on the other side of Mill, where we saw Team Kraken actually holding on to that fort on the other side. They're trying to take a look at the teams that are playing off their low ground.
You can see Blueberry got knocked, so that's going to be Lonely Fans down to just 2 players. Blitz gets involved on a Nova Prime as well with the PK. Typically, you don't see this much action in round 3, but we saw the amount of gatekeeping that was happening on the east-hand side. Lonely Fans, unfortunately, your team in second place goes down as the big shots from Orioles hits with the Nemesis. He's got the 2-4. He's got the purple mech. This is when you full send it here. It's all about hitting this stop on the res, though. Find out exactly where that player is going to be located. Hit that one. No name goes out. The kill feed goes absolutely nutty. And it's not going to stop because Aegon by AOC is on the hunt. They know where one player is. They know that the other teammates had to push on over towards the zone. Somehow, some way, Turns gets dropped from the backhand side. It's going to be VJ with the wingman.
Oh, are you kidding me? The third party got whip of the fight. RE45 in the hands of Muchaku, and with the Digi threat also in hand, nowhere to run with the smoke grenades being unleashed. Black Hole is going to try to suck them right back into that fight, but they take a nice off angle right out of the line of sight of 2R1C. Sending up the smoke to disrupt the vision, though. That may be our other squad that was by the Mill. It's probably Kraken's Lair Gaming, so they have to take cover behind this rock with the third and fourth party rolling in.
They haven't gotten the thirst yet. That's the big problem for 2R1C. They're going to end up going back, see if they can get some valuable information from Hyarka, but it's going to be cover fire happening from another team. So a fourth team gets involved, and now 2R1C has put themselves in the meat of the sandwich as Cruisin gets a knock. There goes multiple players now. Turns and Force get eliminated. Unfortunately, I don't think that Aegon by OC realized they were going to get bailed out by another team, so they didn't go for those reses. A little bit unlucky, but 2R1C, that is good for them. They realize now that they have no threats over towards their backhand side. They can continue to push forward. Kodagami gets a knock onto Bursty. Mike and Knight goes out. Our partner teams are getting taken down by these open squads, and this team is far from an open squad. Third place in EMEA overall, taken to the skies. VJ had the 2x Skull Piercer on the wingman. That is ridiculous. It was Orioles, though. He hasn't given up. He's still over there just defending Aegon by AOC's name, and he's doing a great job of it. The pinch is still alive.
How does he keep doing this? He keeps doing this as the sole warrior on this team. He comes out, he can't recover the banners. It's not like he has anywhere for him to recover them anyways, with the beacons being inside that next circle. And look at this, another rat. Rat Seer for Rat Seer. Call the Exterminator. It's going to be Goon versus Orioles.
At one point, they're going to realize that they're both solos, and it's going to be extremely awkward as it's Seer on Seer action. There goes the ultimate. It looks like it kind of bounced in the air, though, so Orioles may be able to get to this one. But look at the head glitch coming in from Goon. He's getting shot in the back. Orioles is not able to get him, but he does get some help from the team directly behind him inside of the Mill. At an extra placement point, 4 kills, 3 assists, and Aegon by AOC may be the best rat team in Series E.
It was like the Spider-Man meme. They were both pointing at each other once he threw down that Seer ult. But when he did that, he also brought all the attention onto him, which on the other side was Kraken's Lair, who again, we saw earlier on the top of Mill, came out with great loot, now cleaning up the rest of what's left of this lobby. 4 squads left, and they are looking fantastic beyond this high ground, but they're not in this next circle. With little to no cover, and still a squad potentially to their south. I don't know if they know that. There's still a rat left behind him. Yeah, okay, you see the pings going down, and Pia is going to be able to also get the information with the tactical. They get the last player. That's Aegon by AOC, finally out of this lobby with 3 squads left.
Just a matter of time before Kraken's Lair got out of the Mill, pushed up, and started realizing all of this fighting that was taking place. Had their name written all over it. They played it a little bit patiently, and it ended up paying off. 3 kills, 1 assist, a 3-on-3-on-3 situation. Razor has now moved into second place to take over Lonely Fans' position, and how big of a fight was that in World's Edge towards No Name for Lonely Fans to be able to shut down Razor. Could be their time to scoot up in the leaderboard and contest first place from 2R1C. Blitz taking some damage from the team shooting him in the south-hand side. We don't know exactly where the rest of the players are, so if we could keep scrolling through to find out. But Razor's making their move already. They're the team that has to make their way into the zone onto free agent players. So this is the squad that has to hold them off, and they're giving up a little bit of real estate now because of this Rolling Thunder. A nice job landing the missile swarms as well. Vicky, they haven't taken massive damage yet. Naelis is the #1 player to do so, but look at the flanks coming in from Razor. They hit him with the 1-2 swoop, Vicky. They had no idea where Razor was coming from.
And the yeet grenades as they get tossed in their direction. Grenade, Arcstar right afterwards as the Cyril is also still online to see which of these teams are trying to roll right in. They take care of that squad. They're still alive right now before Kraken's Lair cleans the rest of that team up. That's FA players out of here. Krakens, though, they get taken down with 1 player left here. Now Razor down 1 player. It's 1 for 1. They take different off angles. The Digithreat coming in clutch and the Wingman to finish it off. Razor turned the tides of that fight and they take game number 4.
2 games out of 4. 2-1 by Razor, 2 by 2R1C. I think we know who's going to be duking it out for first and second. Don't forget about Lonely Fans and a couple of the other squads, but Razor is putting on a clinic today and showcasing what our partnered squads can do on the big stage, and what a performance there at the tail end of the game, because they had to push directly in front of them. All of a sudden, we switched on over to FA players' point of view. It looked like they had them in a good spot. Next thing you know, Razor comes from this angle, comes from that angle, and just 3-man collapses on top of that. Not only that, that first knock in that final 3v3 to win the game happened so fast, Vicky, that gave them a huge advantage.
That was huge because it was on Kraken's Lair side where they lost out on their first player before Razor had lost out on their Seer. But that big rock in the middle was what allowed them to reposition, to take different off angles, and then collapse around Kraken's Lair. Amazing play from Razor where Kraken's Lair took advantage of the fight that went down, because it was either that or they were going to be forced to traverse through the open ground of the water where they would also be vulnerable. So that rock really did come in clutch for Razor, and they knew that before they took that previous fight. So really good props to Razor taking their second game of the night.
That was our first game on Storm Point. We have 2 more before we crown our winner of tonight's open night in Series E. We're going to toss this one to Yeso, get his thoughts.
Razor back on top, responding to the back-to-back wins from 2R1C. Credit to them. They don't get the win here to make it 3 in a row, but they get another top 5 finish. So 2R1C still putting points on the board here in our first game on Storm Point. But Razor with a nice response. Games 2 and 3, they got a few points in there. Game number 2 was certainly the better one for them, but they were petering off just a little bit there on the rest of World's Edge, but they come and start the second half as strong as they started the first one here with their second win on the day. And as T-Squared mentioned, 2 wins for Razor, 2 for 2R1C. Is anybody else going to get in that mix? You're going to have to if you want to challenge these 2 teams at the top of the table. So well played there from Razor. Let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance moment here, and I'm wondering if this might just be the finish, and it will. So I love this play from Razor. One, they do a good job of closing the gap here with FA players without taking a lot of damage. And my favorite part about it is very specifically, you see these grenades start to come in from Kraken's Lair, who's looking to come in and third party. And Razor makes the right choice of not over-aggressing. They recognize that they're still a living player of FA players, right? They haven't secured that kill yet, but they know with the 2 knocks that they've gotten in the third party on its way, it's more important for Razor to play for the reset, because FA players is not really a legitimate threat to them any longer. They took down 2 players. Kraken's Lair is very likely, with the grenades that they've thrown in, to come in and clean up that third. Of course, you'd love that extra little bit of KP, but Razor wants the win here, and so they back off at the perfect time. The nades come in, they say, let's reset, top off your shields, wait for this cleanup to come through, then we engage on a Kraken's Lair, and they do exactly that, right? You see one player come in, boom, FA players is out, and they do even get the initial crack on the Seer, right, onto Blitz, but Razor just doesn't miss their shots, and they get the 2v1 that they need to clean things up here, and it's the finishing shots with the Wingman to grab the win. So well done from Razor. Great initial push where they don't take a lot of damage. They get the 2 initial knocks on FA players, and then they back away, reset, and then win the final fight. I think very impeccably played out there by Razor, and it's the reason why they are likely at or very close to the top of our Mobile One leaderboard. Let's check out where things stand on that front. They have jumped back to the top of this leaderboard, 5 points ahead of 2R1C, and that gap is opening up further. Lonely Fans still here in 3rd place, but now 14 points separate them from 2nd place 2R1C and even more between themselves and Razor. It's going to be a fun run to the finish now because 2R1C and Razor have both had 2 big wins. They've both been very solid across the board here today. And the question is, who will end up on top? We will get maybe a little bit closer to answering that question with our next game, Game 5 from T-Squared and Vicky Kitty, when we come back.
When the chicken is this crispy and this tasty, it doesn't matter what else is for dinner. Tyson Crispy Strips are so delicious, they'll be your favorite part of every meal. More crispy chicken, more family faves, more to love. Tyson.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Series E. We have 2 games remaining. They're both on Stormpoint, and Vicky during the break confessed that she plays Apex standing up. If anyone else thinks that's because she can rage faster, raise your hand.
Look. Aside from saving frames from raging, all right, T, it also allows me to get closer to the screen. Sometimes sitting and looking forward isn't enough when you're my height, okay? So you got to compensate. You got to stand up. It lets me see better when I'm using the charge rifle to grief everybody. Hopefully, you're not in my line of sight in my lobby. Anyways,
Well, Vicky, when she stands up, is the same as when she's sitting down, though. That's the crazy part.
You know what? Tom is lucky. And you know who else is also looking lucky? But it's mostly a skill diff out here, Dom. It's Razor with double wins for the night. Not back-to-back like 2R1C, but it's 2 wins going in favor for 2 of the teams in this lobby. 2R1C taking back-to-back wins for game 2 and 3, and Team Razor, who won game 1 and just came off of Stormpoint winning game 4. Now we got game 5 and 6 come up soon. I'm excited though because we saw a lot of the chaos go down very early on World's Edge, and it looked like it didn't slow down on Stormpoint.
And you know what the big difference in that game was, besides, Razor and all these teams playing really well, was Orioles being the rat behind where 2R1C was. Because imagine if they were able to get those extra kill points, get those extra placement points. They ended up pinching 2R1C, and Orioles is that lone rat, really changed the tide for what this leaderboard's going to look like. So we're going to get ready for game number 5 here very shortly. But we had 4 games so far. 2 were won by 2 teams each, and again, Yesa was talking about who else is going to get on the board. Vicky, who else do you think is playing well that potentially could get up there?
Honestly, from what we've seen so far, I have to say Leave No Witness has been one of my favorite teams to watch so far. We've talked about them a lot for all the right reasons. It benefits them to have either replicators in their POI, having that digi threat, and actually having Karev being on that bang, not only move around, but getting the follows from Pyrrhus as well as Brutus. So it's been a really nice showcase from Leave No Witness.
Yeah, I like the way that they're playing. I mean, there's a handful of teams that could end up taking the dub. They just haven't been able to close it out. And the way that, the way that Razor and 2R1C have closed out these games have been very convincing. I think one of the more surprising things, again, is Team Intel, Mike and Ike, they haven't really gotten their legs underneath them. We've seen Tyson come very close to picking up a win. So a couple other teams have put up some good fights. And it seems like Aegon by AOC is missing a little bit of something tonight. And again, that's why we play 6 games instead of 4. There's still plenty of opportunities for Aegon by AOC, but when you watch them individually, everybody is right there. But whether it's turns, opening up a little bit too hard and fighting multiple people at once, or, whether it's an angle diff or whatever it is, I worry for these other squads if Aegon by AOC can get their team fighting down, because right now it seems like something is just a little bit off.
Yeah, I want to see some of these teams finalize a lot of the fights that they've been taking, because they're doing the damage and they have the individual skill to follow up with each other like you mentioned, but it's just not finalizing that fight that we got to see from some of these squads. Got some 50-50s going down, as you could already see in the feed. Some of these players are already getting knocked, leaving 1 for 1 on each of these teams here currently with the kill feed. Aegon by AOC, the team that we were just talking about, also just trying to get some beams in right now. R9 and the car with no sight here in the hands of turns is still able to find some of these shots on the players trying to take that zip line.
And this is the squad we were just mentioning. What are they going to be able to do right off of the rip? Turns again. Start off on Bangalore, switch over to Horizon. He's got the gold wing, double wingman, all right? This guy is a force to be reckoned with on the map right now. I don't know if that's toxic, genius, or just ballsy.
I want to know if he uses a controller out here too. He's got that gold wingman. You already know he's going to put it to work.
With movement like that? No way.
I love how you could say that too, because you also play on controller. It all works. It all comes together the way it's supposed to. But what works here now too is the fact that the gold wingman comes with that digi, and being on the bang can be very helpful out here. But it's about finding your angles, and if you want to take this fight, because at this point, the players were able to get back up on the zip line. They've probably already reset in time. The one thing that they don't have on the high ground with those Watson fences already set up is the access to the replicator that Aegon does have. Something that Intel does not have right now while they're fighting in the Prowler's Den of Jurassic Park. They get fully sent on. They get taken out by FA players, quickly looking to loot them up before the Prowlers also take a chunk out of them.
Then Team Tyson picking up some kills as well. as they scroll through the boxes and figure out what they want to grab from the loot. Ammo a little bit dire, but the game just began, so we'll find out what they're going to be able to do as they move forward. But that's a good sign for Tyson. They've picked up some decent kill points and placement points on World's Edge. Didn't have the best game number 4 on Stormpoint, but that's a great start for them overall. Last game we had a little less action, or a little bit more action. So this game, technically, even though 3 teams have died, could be considered slow from what we've seen so far. And this is definitely a situation where you want to just get all the loot. If you're going to be on the edge here, Vicky, finish the POI, get some long-range weapons. That's something that Tripods did so well last week when they picked up their dub. Was they had 2 long-range weapons, and then they would get rid of those long-range weapons. 2 players carrying long-range weapons, then they would get rid of those and get close range a little bit later on in the game, and that's exactly what Razor has in mind over here. Nice job using the missile swarm. You also see the knock going in onto DoTube, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be straight simping.
And Razor having the high ground. Nice angle for them. I love the finish up with the Arcsar to follow up from the missile swarm, making sure you won't be able to crawl away to any sort of safety. They drop down on the duo that's left right now. Oh, they all have charge rifles? There's no way.
Looking like a Tiesto concert out here.
They lit him up like a firework for real. That was insane the way that just looked. The way they crossed paths too. Meanwhile, on the other side, Where also in the fight inside, playing this as a duo. They're up and healthy, playing up the little side of the stairs, getting out of the line of sight to take care of Copium as a duo. Beautifully done, but not before the third party has now just rolled in.
And they're going to have to bail a little bit of a grab lift to throw them off to buy some time. I think that was like a genius grab lift there, but unfortunately it's not enough for Anxiety to get out of there. Tyson now starting to heat up. They already got 1 team fight. They're looking to pick up another here with this third party. Nice shots with the wingman from Kodagami. They're already on the hunt, but realizing, hey, let's just back off, get this loot, check our backs, make sure no one else is tailing us, and then we'll be able to make our move just a little bit later. So nice job picking up some extra KP here for Team Tyson. But I don't think I've ever seen one player get triple charge rifled in the back like that.
Not like that. I'm actually raging from saying it. I feel like I'm having an episode of PTSD from the charge rifles just griefing him all at the same time. I wonder what those comms sounded like a 3-2-1 charge him. I mean, I guess beam him down with it. But now that we get to take a look at where this circle is going to be pulling, very similar to the circle that we first had on Stormpoint in the last game, pulling towards the east side of Mill, towards that open water area. Looks like it's going to be pulling still up towards the northwest side again. But a lot of teams still on the outside of this next circle who may not have that information, taking their time to rotate.
Geeky a little bit into this fight with 2R1C, and they've already got 1 knock. They're looking for a second one, and they are able to eliminate the team in first place. That is huge for Team Razor. There goes the third party. I believe Lonely Fans was in the area, and they are. So that continues to help out the rest of this leaderboard. Gold PK on the ground. LNW, Vicky, the team that you were highlighting as you think the next team to go and win a game here in game number 5 and 6. They're looking strong in 4th place, trying to catch up to Lonely Fans. Tough spot to be in, though, on the low ground here. They're going to have to make their way up onto the roof somehow, some way. But without any legends like Horizon, Valkyrie, they're just going to have to climb up.
Literally have to find a way to mountain climb their way up there, but positioning is always so grim sometimes. They try to swap though, 1 by 1, put 78 onto the other player, but now the Seer pops his head out too. Oh, he turned around, quickly diverting his attention and his momentum on the other side. Getting shot from behind, though, is scary. Forcing your way right back inside of this building to reinforce the doors is definitely the play here. But it's scary because this fight was taking so long that another team looks like they've been able to roll in from behind.
And a nice job using the catalyst spikes to go long way on the stairs instead of going vertical. So I really like the idea of what Purus is bringing to the table on this catalyst, reinforcing that wall down below, going for the Phoenix kit here. Hopefully for him, he doesn't get hit by this Arcstar or potentially a Seer scan to stop his heal. But look at the rest of his teammates. While he's healing, they're pushing up. Free agent players get dropped. The hunt is on for the team directly above them. It looks like it's just going to be a solo Valkyrie. Just one more shot, and they find him. Silent ends up going down. The charge rifle is griefing all over Stormpoint, and that has to be one of my favorite animations in the game when someone just plops right down after getting picked off in the air. We saw it earlier with the death box. This time it's Silent.
Look, you were talking about me playing standing up, but I know when you're playing Valkyrie, you try to go for a desperate skyward dive. You know that they're taking shots at you. You have no shield. You scream for your life, and you hope that you can take off. Leave No Witness did not let that happen. Beaming right out of the sky, using that charge rifle like a fly swatter on the Valkyrie. They're going to be able to clean up some extra KP in the process before the other squad is able to take control of the other buildings right to their south. It's Mike and Ike that lose out on their Valkyrie, and it doesn't look like they're looking to recover that banner, unfortunately, but they have to try to play for this next circle positioning. Wizard Coins trying to see if there is some sort of opportunity, but it can be so risky with not just one squad right in front of them, but two squads with the building right next door to that one.
If anyone could do it, it's definitely Mike and Ike, but that's a weird scenario that they were in, Vicky. I'm not quite sure if Silent was trying to make an entry frag play, and then that's why he ended up on the roof by himself. But then he hits the skyward dive. It makes me wonder how far separated was Mike and Ike actually. The thing is having this high ground is huge, so if they could get a major crack and move in, they could have an advantage.
While Leave No Witness still take their time. All the meds that they need to work with here. Try to rotate right behind the other team that's in front of them. Mike and Ike see the opportunity. They left the banner before it expires, so nobody to watch over that banner just yet, as Mike and Ike have the opportunity to get this res now with 20 seconds on the clock for this next beacon, or rather this next circle to close in. You can see the quick little check from Wizard Coin, just looking through the heartbeat sensor, finding some Oh, okay. Is he trolling? I'm wondering, He
Pretty
keeps
sure he's
casually
trolling
respawning.
his teammate.
Oh my goodness. He's having fun
Maybe
with it.
Silent used some select words to him, and Wizard Coin's like, you know what? Apologize. All right, I'm not gonna take that slander here. You know what? Just make sure you're nice to me, and then I'll hit the res. It's kind of how I treat my randoms when I'm playing.
I wanna be on the positive side of things and think maybe he was just trying to time it properly with the circle closing in too. Would have been nice timing because now the circle's closing in and they're gonna be able to get the banner, or rather the box. See, he's like, I've been there, I've done that. But you know, just trying to see what they can do while they start rotating in with the circle.
Vicky talking about being nice. We already heard what you said earlier. I can't remember what it was, but
Saving frames while you rage, that allows you to stand up so you could just skip one step, okay?
oh no, it was when turns got bailed on. We both.
Oh yeah.
We're like, here's a taste of your own medicine, team. But realistically, Aegon by AOC has done a really good job when they are the solos. A weapon we haven't actually seen a lot of, Vicky. It's the Scout. We saw some great 2x plays earlier, but now again, the long range value on Stormpoint with so much open area, so much high ground that you have to make up for. You need these poke weapons, and that's exactly what Leave No Witnesses is thinking about as they move forward and take control with their squad here with this catalyst. So I'd like to see a couple spikes maybe laying behind them, maybe at the doors or something like that. That's exactly what Purus is going to do, just to make sure nobody is coming in from round 2. The problem is with round 2, people could still potentially rotate behind you, but you get 3 of those spikes, so that's going to be valuable.
You get information if somebody does cross that, as well as Evo Shield information once it does some of that damage. I also really happy that you pointed out the Scout and the lack of use of the weapon, because here on Stormpoint with so many open areas, you're going to have those long range weapons put in a lot of damage and put in some pressure, but obviously some guns rotating into the meta basically do what the Scout does, if not maybe even a little better, with less attachments necessary, such as the charge rifle that we keep seeing a lot of the players rock here in the lobby. It's kind of been something that we've seen since the very start of Stormpoint. The charge rifle's always been such a strong weapon to rock, even when it comes to charging up those Evo shields. But close range, that Scout comes in clutch with the hip fire, one of my personal favorite weapons. But again, you have the 30-30 that so many players have been able to master with the bullet drop, putting in a lot of work with the Skull Piercer when it is in rotation in the Replicator, which not right now it is, but it was yesterday. So it's all about preference too when it comes to some of those weapons.
And the one thing that the Scout really uses well is the double tap, and we haven't seen one today. I didn't see any in my ranked games earlier today. It makes you wonder, where is that thing? Because we see the Skull Piercer inside of the Crafter. Will the double tap make its way in there eventually? So the value of the Scout really starts to go up. Here's the rotation coming in from Aegon by AOC. We've seen a lot of like saving private whatever teammate it is for this squad. Is they get one knock onto Dundee, that's another charge rifle into the back. Right as you were mentioning it, Vicky, the weapon shows its face again, this time in the hands of Turns as Team Ware ends up getting bled out. They're going to end up taking control of the backhand side of this zone. But right now, again, without any rotation legends, it makes it very difficult. So they decide, hey, you know what? Let's go back into the zone, make our way around, and see if we can play this one safe. NorCal is not letting that happen, though. And NorCal's had a very quiet day so far, but this is another talented team.
Yeah, they beam that player over on the other side. They're ignoring the fact that they're getting shot from behind, and they are trying to send it. You talk about taking some of that circle damage. Sometimes it's worth it, because in this case, they have Zell on the Valkyrie. If they get pinched playing on the edge, which works into this comp minus the Watson where they want to bunker down in the building, I believe this is the only squad, actually, that we've really been able to see rock the Watson. Not really seeing the cryptos that we usually see in EMEA. We've been still seeing them here and about, despite him not being able to scan where the next circle is going to be pulling. But they have the Valkyrie here with the Skyward Dive just to reposition if they're in a bad situation. They got pinged here earlier on this lot. They're going to be able to start rotating inside of this building. And they have to plan where they want to go for this next circle, because they have a little bit of a distance. They do take the Skyward Dive, and they have less than a minute to make their next move.
The fortunate thing is you have the gold helmet on top of Zell, so if you need to make another rotation, you could go and do so. But this is a tough spot, Vicky, because it looks like they don't have many spots to go. Instead, they're just going to land on top of this lone solo who's on the rock, which means that they have a huge advantage now before they move into the zone. They still have to go forward. That's a really nice rolling thunder by the enemy team, but they made a small mistake. They weren't expecting the Skyward Dive to go directly on top of them, and I'm not sure which team this is, but they're putting up a fantastic fight. A ends up going down. Zell gets a little bit of help from another team as Lonely Fans gets eliminated, and the push on over towards the zone has to be immediate. As you see, they are going directly side by side with Aegon by AOC. So Aegon by AOC rotates back around, comes directly on their backhand side, and potentially takes them out.
And the charge rifle from the distance, Razor coming in involved and going to try to go in for a third party potentially here after Aegon lose out on Turns. Get that other player on the other side from NorCal. They have to roll right back and avoid this rolling thunder coming in, trying to dance around it while taking some extra damage. Again, I do think that is Razor on the right-hand side. They cannot get the res on Turns, which is unfortunate, but that rolling thunder is what did the nail in the coffin for that player while he was knocked. They get the quick shield swap.
They could craft.
Yeah, they could actually get the beacon right back in here, because the mobile respawn beacon, like we were talking about the replicator being right there, is in that rotation for the weekly rotation.
What a spot to die. Turns possibly getting back into this game as you have a great angle for Orioles too. And this is the combo we've seen a lot of players rock, whether it's the Nemesis and Prowler. The Nemesis R9 puts in serious work, and I love the positioning here for Orioles.
Beaming with the Nemesis out here while holding onto the high ground. Putting in some suppressed fire while Force is going to be able to get Turns right back in. Look at the damage with the Nemesis as he continues beaming. Doesn't get a crack, but it's about sending a message is what I always say out here. Bunch of death boxes too right in their line of sight. 8 squads still left in this next circle. And with the mobile respawn ship coming right back in, he continuously beams the other players right to their south, preventing them from crossing over this open ground to contest them.
Looking like me with the battle rifle and Halo 3 out here, Vicky, but Turns gets his loot back. You know, and you know what? They did it again where they timed it perfectly with the zone. So really nice job by Aegon by AOC. They're gonna have to rotate immediately though. Turns, he doesn't have any major heals. He's just going for cells instead. What's the move? Left, right, or straight up the gut? Again, without any Valkyrie, you're gonna have to make your way into the mill.
You worded it perfectly with this team. It's basically like saving Private Ryan out here, and they did that with Turns this time around. The smoke coming out from Force, so that way they could get onto the high ground without getting shot from their back. Dropping down some ammo just in case Turns didn't have the opportunity to get that first. Force drops from the high ground, just looking to see where the other squads in the mill area is. It's not pulling directly towards what we saw earlier in the last game for this final circle. It's pulling slightly more to the north, but still very similar circle while all the action's happening on the inside of mill.
Razor loses out on Blitz, but they have not lost out on the other 2 members, so they still have a chance as Borton elects to go into the smoke. Bursty stays outside of the Seer Ultimate, so the Seer Ultimate doing a great job of splitting up both of these players. As you see, Team Tyson ends up losing out on Kodagami. Orioles gets a knock onto Wizard Coin. So that means only MJ is left from that team. And then Silent, who ends up getting back into the game. Remember, they rezzed him over towards maybe like zone number 3, and he comes back to bite Aegon by AOC, and then he gets re-knocked with the car coming in from Force. Partnered squad on top of partnered squad. Mike and Ike ends up going down. Aegon by AOC starts to heat up, and these are the games that Aegon by AOC has been through over and over again. They just have not been able to capitalize with all 3 players. They get blessed with that mobile respawn beacon. Now Razor's looking to grief, and that's exactly what they do.
Huge right there too, because they're playing this as a duo. They force a 2v2, tries to get the finish on that Nox player. Has a Digi-Threat ready here too to see right through that smoke. Having to back away though and call in the Rolling Thunder. Just trying to prevent the other squad from trying to take what they made as theirs with that first knock. Covering both angles too, so that way they can at least try to contest this squad that's on the low ground. They need this right now. They need the extra KP. With 6 squads left though, they can't give up this ground.
And the zone's closing in 10 seconds, so if you're going to go for the res right now, you absolutely have to, and they can't because Orioles ends up getting griefed again by the charge rifle. The Thirst goes through, and now Aegon by AOC as a duo, Razor by a duo, multiple teams inside of the mill already. This is going to be a tough rotation for both of these teams. Razor has not picked up that many kill points overall, but they are looking to pick up some serious placement as you see multiple teams on top of the roof inside of the mill. Another team making their way to potentially fight this squad. And Bursty maybe should have been a little bit more disciplined on the trigger. Ends up shooting, giving away the position, and gets turned on by multiple players.
Notice by happening on the other side as Borden's gonna get finished off. That's Razor going down. 5 squads left as Enemigo falls low, having to pop this shield back behind what little cover is this next corner. They have the Bangalore and the Catalyst wall, amazing wall to block off the line of sight of the players on the other side. With little to no cover though, they have 30 seconds left to move away. The black hole, as it puts all of their attention on there, it gets pulled right into the line of sight of NTC. They get finished off. Leave no witness out of all this chaos are out in the distance with the Hemlock from the care package in the hands of Pyrrhus.
Perfect wall, perfect Seer ultimate as well. Vicky, you highlighted them before, and it looks like they're on the verge of picking up a dub. So healthy, triple red armor. Only Force remains from Team Aegon by AOC, and there it is. A new champion in the arena. It's Leave No Witness, picking up a massive win in game number 5.
Dude, it was just a matter of time. That's why I highlighted this team. They were popping off. Their individual skill is next level. And they played that last game perfectly in the sense where they were playing outside of where all the chaos was going down in mill. They counter-rotated. They went long. They cleared the southeast side of that circle originally and were able to get around into that next circle without putting themselves sandwiched in between mill. So great performance from Leave No Witness. It was just a matter of time, Tom.
Yeah, that's why their positioning was so strong too. So just fending off and again keeping all the action directly in front of them. And there was a lot of it. We saw again the mill was tough to go and navigate through. Team Razor did a great job swinging, getting that kill onto Orioles. You saw Aegon by AOC doing whatever they could, scrapping throughout the entire game. Mike and Ike, all of our partnered squads put up a great fight right there. But in the end, it was an open team. Leave No Witness. Again, waiting for all of that action to unfold, pouncing on top of that. The timing was phenomenal, but the good thing for the lobby is 2R1C ended up getting slowed down in game number 5, so it's still anybody in terms of being able to pick up the sub on the Mobile One leaderboard.
You know who was consistently still in top 6 and top 7 was Team Razor. They were still there, they were still present, even as a duo. I want to throw it to Yeso to hear his thoughts after game number 5, while we're left with one more game on Stormpoint.
You are the Apex champions.
Welcome back, folks, and we finally have a new winner here today. Razor with the first and fourth game wins. Of course, in the middle of that sandwich was the 2R1C back-to-back victories. And now Leave No Witness here in game 5 get a very important win. Razor still very likely in a strong position. They finish in 6th place in this game. Not a ton of KPS T-squared mentioned there at the end, but a few more points to add to their total to try and keep 2R1C as well as the rest of the lobby at bay here going into the final game. But Leave No Witness, and Vicky hitting the nail on the head, really just well played late game, taking the right fights at the right time, cleaning things up, and then very easy for them to finally finish off Force as the final player remaining. They're on Aegon by AOC to secure the win there officially. Let's take a look, though, at our Mobile One high performance moment here from game number 5 as we get ready for our final game of the day. And it's going to be this fight near the end. And Vicky was already highlighting how she thinks this Horizon might start to crop up more and more as a counter to the Dark Veil, as a counter to the Catalyst, because you can just throw that black hole in and create all sorts of chaos, and these teams will never see it coming when that Dark Veil is up. And as that initial engage goes through, it's now time for Leave No Witness to come in here for the third party. They wipe out McDonald's Wi-Fi, clean up the last few kills here, and now it's just up to, thanks to the Digi threats, easily finding Force amidst all the smoke and cleaning up that final kill. And it's just a very straightforward finish here. They get the third party that they're looking for, while NorCal and McDonald's Wi-Fi are duking it out. Leave No Witness are in position at range to get some shots, work their way into this chaos. They threw down their own Dark Veil and then come in to finish off these players and grab the win. And it's just very well timed and well played by Leave No Witness. And it's why they are our winners here in game number 5. And now the question will be, as we go into our last game of the day, of course, one, what does that gap still look like with Razor and 2R1C at the top of the leaderboard? Does Leave No Witness with that win put themselves in a position to threaten if they have another really solid game in game 6? Let's take a look at our Mobile One leaderboard and find out the exact state right now. So Leave No Witness actually pass up 2R1C with that win. That is huge. So 2R1C and Leave No Witness both in a position to make moves, but Razor having that 10-point buffer is going to make them feel a lot more comfortable. Even Aegon or Lonely Fans could make a move, though it would be very, very difficult to do so. But that door is at the very least open to anybody in that top 5. But if you're Razor, you're just focusing on playing a smart, deliberate, controlled game here in game 6. You don't have to pop off, but you have to ensure that you are taking high percentage fights for your team, putting up a little bit of KP and getting into that late game, giving yourself the opportunity to put a solid 10 points or more on the board has you in a wonderful spot to take home first place here tonight. So keep an eye on Razor, Leave No Witness, and 2R1C going into this final game. We will have our last bit of action here for tonight when we come back. T-Squared and Vicky Kitty will have it all for you in just a few.
Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it?
One game remaining here in Series E for Apex Legends, and it's our open night, but it's looking like a pro lobby with the amount of talent that we have here. T-Squared and Vicky Kitty bringing you the action. All right, Vicky, leave no witness. They got the dub. You predicted it.
I love to see it. Not only were you a fortune teller earlier on with the circle prediction on World's Edge, now I'm out here calling out Leave No Witness. They are in second place with 10 points away. What does my crystal ball tell me for this top 3? Because it's pretty close out here between our top 4 squads. Even Aegon by AOC has also they've also had an amazing night. They're currently sitting in 4th place with 51 points, right behind 2R1C that have 54 points, 1 point between themselves, and Leave No Witness sitting in 2nd place with 55 points, and then Razor with 65 points. One of our more consistent teams out here. They've taken 2 games, but they have always been within the top 3, top 5 realm of these final games, even on the last 2 to 3 games that they did not win.
Yeah, realistically, we have 5 separate teams that can end up winning this one, going all the way down to Lonely Fans. And then another team that's been kind of flying under the radar, it's our 6th place squad, Kraken's Lair. Been really impressed with what they've been able to do. And it just goes to show you, again, how tough these lobbies are in Series E. And I hate to keep using them kind of as that standard, but they're in the Pro League. It's Team Intel. And they're coming out again right in that 15th, 16th area. Something, has to give in terms of when are they going to turn it up a notch. But that's just how tough, again, these lobbies here on our open night. I'm really rooting for Intel. I think they're going to get it together here going into this final game. We've seen them do this before where they've had a slow start and they really start to pick it up in the end. Hopefully that's going to be the case, but our partner squads have been phenomenal today, all the way from Team Intel to the top in Team Razor. Looking forward to watching that accumulative leaderboard continue to grow and kind of shuffle too as we find out what's going down for Season 7 of Series E Apex Legends. We're getting ready here for game number 6, but right now, if you're wondering what the leaderboard looks like, who the teams to watch out for, Team Razor in 1st place, Leave No Witness in 2nd, in 3rd place, 2R1C, then Team Aegon by AOC, and Lonely Fans in 5th place. As we see T2's biggest fan, he gets taken out first. Feel your pain, man.
It's unfortunate, but I feel like the name maybe have cursed him or something. Not trying to say anything, but Straight Simpin looking like they're in some trouble. McDonald's Wi-Fi also playing this out as a duo, so it is a 2v2 on the other side here. Straight Simpin unfortunately get eliminated as the first squad to go, but Intel, Tom, I think you're cursing them out here. You were just talking about them, but they got charge rifled in the back. They get eliminated in 19th. McDonald's Wi-Fi don't want to be the 3rd team, but it's crazy in this final game how crazy aggressive a lot of these teams are off the rip.
Yeah, if you're new to Series E, if you're new to Apex Legends that's competitive, as soon as you see that leaderboard coming out, everyone understands how hard they have to go in order to get inside of the money. So they fully send it and they recognize that they need to have a massive game going forward, and sometimes that ends up clearing the lobby out just a little bit faster than typical as GIB gets taken down. 3 squads already end up biting the dust. But Vicky, how are you going to say that? I cursed them because of the name, and now I'm cursing Team Intel. Am I just a cursed person? Is that what you're implying?
I called you a fortune teller earlier on, and now it's like the Grim is being read off the teacup. I don't know. The tea leaves has to tell its own story out here. And a lot of these teams that were struggling on the bottom end of the leaderboard, looks like they're falling in and staying in that bottom end of the leaderboard. NTC now on top of the ship of Mirage Voyage, trying to take some shots, but Talon's falls incredibly low. This is actually another team that I mentioned at the pre-show that I was expecting to pop off to see more of, but I haven't really been seeing them too much.
And there it is. No Name gets dropped by NTC. And the Spitfire, low-key, one of my favorite weapons to pick up off of the rip, because not a lot of people are expecting you to just rip in about 40 shots, and you can use it close range, you could use it medium range, not the best at long range, but one of those weapons that is a little bit underrated and underutilized. You need a lot of ammo for it overall, but we're going to see what Lonely Fans is up to. As you can see in the bottom left-hand side, 5th place for them. Trying to make some moves. You can see the smokes inside of the building. Buddha has been phenomenal today. At one point, looked like he was going to set the record for kills in Series E, as he had 7 kills with still 8 squads remaining. There goes the Sky Nade. A doesn't make his way up on over to the zip line, and just a little bit of a bait as they see the other team is ran outside of the Seer ultimate. One player remains on the roof, a couple players dancing left and right. There goes the enemy Seer ult, and it may be time for Lonely Fans to slow play this just a little bit.
Looking like a Venn diagram, and that is not the slow play that you were expecting. Blueberry got sent on in the front doors that were blown up. Looking to his back, he doesn't expect it. He has an EVA 8 with a gold shotgun bolt, but to his back, he wall bounces. It's not enough. Both players still are fully up and alive, and Buddha has to recover with the shield bat. He pulls it off. Now he's popping the med kit, but he's forced to leave his 2 teammates behind.
Nothing Buddha can do in this instance, but he looks like he's got the beam in his back pocket. Takes the Ryzen down to no shields. Does get the knock onto MJ. Potential third party coming in for Mike and Ike as they take on over towards the bridge to try to defend MJ and his life. MJ ended up going for the flank. It's impressive to win that fight against MJ, considering the first shots with the R9 did not look very smooth, not very Buddha-like. The R3, though, completely on point. Just kind of shows you a little bit how mental this game is, too. He understood, both of my teammates already down. This is a 3 versus 1. How much fight do I necessarily have left? He had a lot left in him. MJ gets res. The cover from Silent has been phenomenal on top of the high ground. And you can see multiple squads have been eliminated. We're down to 14 already. 6 squads as the zone is closing. Cruisin continues to put in work, this time with the charge rifle on the Nova Prime. And the sing and dance with this player on top of the building has been insane. It's time to rotate, though. Silent drops down. MJ gets res. He's going to pop that med kit. And eventually they should be skyward diving out of here.
Cruisin's having his own party with the charge rifle somewhere in the distance. So while we saw a Renegade Trident make its way through the choke point right to the side of where McDonald's Wi-Fi is fighting off this squad, they are still in the circle. They drop some syringes, some extra equipment. He picks back that syringe, says, wait, I need that. Just try to drop that energy that I didn't need right here, as he is rocking the flatline and R9. They're gonna start rotating soon, but they're not able to cut off that squad that they were trying to contest here. They're able to take the gravity cannon, and now they're gonna be able to start rotating. Meanwhile, here's Cruisin still being a menace with the charge rifle. Lovely to see that he's got that purple sniper stock, as well as the 3 times to continuously put this pressure on that sole player that's on the high ground.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the stock helps you with zooming in and reloading, I believe. So you're going to be able to get a little bit quicker with this charge rifle. The purple stock is definitely valuable in this instance, plus the 3x puts in some serious work. The 2.4, my favorite scope for this weapon overall. They say once you go past that, you start losing aim assists, and you know I'm not about that life thinking.
I agree, and I learned about that recently there too, especially since one of my favorite scopes is actually the 2x4. Realized I was just griefing myself. Also important too to make sure you have that purple sight or purple stock on the charge rifle. He gets that last player. He finishes 3 free agent esports, and the charge rifle in the hands of Cruisin just allowed him to basically wipe that entire squad. The kill feed showed us right. But I like how you highlighted what the stock does for the charge rifle, because when it comes to the reload animation of the charge rifle, I feel like it's one of the slowest guns when it comes to reloading, if not the slowest gun. And not too sure if this team knows, but they're about to get into the open arms of Cruisin and his squad on the other side of this gravity cannon.
And they do. They take a ton of damage along the way. It's going to be Zell. Team Tyson is in the vicinity. Nice job from Team Tyson taking on over towards the high ground and picking them off. But then NC is in the area. It's going to be Thezar as NorCal gets eliminated in 12th place. Cruisin elects to not go for the smokes before he goes for the res. Has both of the smokes in his back pocket. Has the creeping barrage if he wants to use it. Seer ultimate is going to be used as well. And the lobby continues to heat up as we jump on board with our team in 2nd place. 2R1C. Looks like they got a fight over towards Jurassic Park.
This squad that's so close in that top 3 scoreboard right now, sitting in 2nd place with 57 points after getting some KP to their name for this game. Random weird horizontal placement of that Rolling Thunder for that 1 missile. Avoids that with the Q from the Horizon. Something else that's super important too when it comes to the Horizon pick. It's not just the Catalyst counter picks, but of course you could take that Q up into the heavens and try to avoid that creeping barrage sometimes. BJ falls incredibly low, but he gets out of the line of sight. The smoke helping him out, giving him some extra insurance before the jump over through the bunker doors to finish him off. As a Seer ult comes out from Hierarcha, they have the notification and the information. Look at these double Seer ults. This is crazy right now, but this is what it seems to look like when it comes to the Seer meta that we've entered. Uchaku falls low. Hierarcha's about to meet him right back in the lobby. Not much he could do when there's no cover to hide behind. And 2R1C, our squad in 2nd place, gets taken out by Kraken's Lair, the squad that is currently sitting in 6th place with 40 points.
And they have a chance to potentially move inside of that top 3 area as Aegon by AOC starts to move up. You can see Orioles is interested with the scout. Doesn't have a digi threat on top of his R9, so if smokes end up going down, he's not going to be able to see through that visual clutter. Turns trying to crawl up. You can't crawl up there, Turns. You're going to have to use the door, buddy. But a nice job from Kraken's Lair to drop 2 R1C. There goes the Seer ultimate from Orioles. They don't have one on the side of Kraken's Lair, so it should be a big advantage for Aegon.
Like the wall going up, blocking out the vision. The squad's trying to get away, even if it means rotating on the outside of the circle. But look to yourself. It's free agent players moving into third party. What timing after they had just got a knock on that squad that was trying to get away with the G7. Free agent players see the alley-oop with the gravity lift. Nowhere to run as they take down that player from the skies with the R9 clipping him. They're going to finish him off, get the dirty. They're trying to see the res happening in the distance. No way, Jose, as the shots with the flatline come out from first worst.
Doesn't get much better in terms of a third party. Both of these teams were still fighting, so you're able to pick up kills from both of these squads. There used to be a time, Vicky, when you would get the elimination from teams that were still on the ground. They got rid of that a couple of seasons ago. Made it a little bit more difficult to go for these kill records, but nice job from free agent players to be able to scoop in and pick up some serious kill points. Unfortunately for Turns, that ended up costing him his life, and it looks like it's going to cost him forces as well as the punches are coming through, and Aegon by AOC goes out in 10th place. Unfortunate timing for them, but great timing coming in for FA players, and they're not done yet as McDonald's Wi-Fi now comes in for the 5th party.
What is going on? This is looking like a graveyard, and it's McDonald's Wi-Fi shift that is up right now to clean up what is left inside of Jurassic Park. Currently beaming down the players that are trying to go through that choke point by the bunker doors. They get a knock onto Worst, and now they're trying to close in the gap. Despite the circle closing in, they can definitely still out-heal the circle right now.
They're not done yet. They want to keep continuing this fight, but there goes the smoke. He has the Digi of his own. Bin hits the wingman shots that he's looking for. Arcstar's going on over towards the door. TrevStack selects to go for that Seer ultimate. Will they push through the door, or will they go for the res? It looks like they want to trade out reses, but that's not what TrevStack is trying to do. He looks for the armor swap perfectly on top of the box, shoots through the knockdown shield, and continues to put the hurting on, but Bin is the one player right now that they need to shut down. Creeping Barrage ends up landing. T-Dong ends up going for the armor swap as well. Medkits need to be hit on both sides. It's Bin from free agent players against the world. He has 2 players directly in front of him. Are they going to go for the res, or are they going to continue to push through? The wingman shots connect, but not enough. Knockdown shields being used as well. He's on the hunt, and he finishes it off. McDonald's Wi-Fi goes out, and Bin goes huge.
That was so entertaining. That 1v1 fight, all I could think about in my head was, wouldn't it be crazy if the Keel got canceled from a Seer attack out of nowhere with a 6 party moving in? They get both players' banners, and free agent players are still up and alive thanks to Bin coming out on top. He's going to be able to pop the Phoenix kit and use the mobile respawn beacon that's to his left if he wants to opt to that. Doesn't look like that's what he wants to do. You can see the ping actually going down. Maybe just trying to take priority over going into that next circle, so that way they don't run for their lives this entire rest of the game and be in a very difficult situation if there's no loot.
I wonder if they have a Moby on the body, and I think that was the play, so they can just loot a little bit faster. He needs to go and continue to get medkits throughout all of this too. But the zone is going to start getting a little bit harder to manipulate, because you do have zone number 3 closing, and we know what that's going to do for you. But this is an interesting play. I wonder if there just wasn't enough meds, Vicky, and he said, you know what, I'm going to get inside the zone, maybe craft something for you guys, and then we can get you back. But 6 kills, 4 assists. Bin definitely looking like the MVP as this game, as he perfectly ends up hitting his med kit. I was thinking, you know what would be just like some sweet, sweet Stormpoint revenge if a Prowler came through when he was hitting when he was hitting that Phoenix kit going down the hill.
You truly choose violence out here. I see your chaotic mind at work. I would have been so mad, but it's true. And what's crazy is with all that fighting, we didn't see the Prowler try to grief any of those players. Maybe the Prowler dev was cleared prior, but it was just so chaotic in Jurassic Park. It was straight up like we were actually in the movie, minus the Prowlers being present. It was just the players that were the dinosaurs instead. Razor now playing off this little slight rock end, though. I like this position, But is it the best position with so many other teams that could take a high ground position right above them in that north side or through the gravity cannon? They could get pinched here with the other squads that are also forced to rotate from the south side, which looking at the overhead map earlier, we do know that there was a lot of teams still around the storm area, so the storm catcher area. So a lot of these teams could start rotating from the other side of Razor, and that's why they're starting to rotate now.
Razor's looking to capitalize on this. They've won 2 out of the 5 games. Can they make it 3 out of 6 here and walk away with a dub? This is typically what we see, Vicky, from these teams inside of the top 3, is they let the rest of the lobby clear out. They're really hoping and praying that it's not one of the teams behind them that's really popping off. Try to get those extra placement points and just kind of sail their way into first place. I like the slot process for Razor.
Like this positioning and the patience here from Razor. 8 squads left while things slow down slightly. They get scanned by the survey beacon. They know exactly where it's coming from. You can see the pings. See the other squads in the area.
Let us explore there.
Oh, they see where that squad is going to be rotating there too. That's a lot of information for them to work with because they do see that there was a team in this spot here too. And that's why they wanted to hold the outside edge of Thunderwatch. Some shots taking at them right now as Leave No Witness are looking to try to take another win under their belt after coming out as victors of Game 5. Nice tracking with the R9. The Beamage coming in, but he's forced to pop the shield bat. Now, the Rolling Thunder still available here for Karev as Leave No Witness now make their way inside of this building. The Digi-Threat coming in clutch. He is literally one, but he has to reload both his guns. Unfortunate as he manages to get away.
I thought Curve was fast. That guy was the fastest player I've ever seen. It was like Octane running around the map right there as Curve goes and hits the heels. Another player up on top of the high ground. Got to be a little bit careful. This player is being extremely sneaky, and Curve is playing it smart, using the smokes, working with his teammates here, waiting for the potential seer scans before they decide exactly what they want to do. Best case scenario is they hit a climb up, but instead of doing that, they toss a nade. Then they're going to go and use that to go and make their way out over towards the high ground. But they use the enemy grab lift to make their way over towards the very ultimate height. And that is a play. That's a vibe for Leave No Witnesses. Now, a couple of different angles can be taken here for Curve if he wants to go and utilize the second or the third area of this building. And right now it looks like that's what he's going to do. He's going to go drop down and use that angle. We liked his movement, Vicky, and he just continues to not disappoint.
I love the IQ plays being done by this team. I know they wanted to take the high ground right there too, but it was a nice option here for both Brutus and Purist to actually hold the low ground while Kriv was able to jump onto that little lip of that second floor, catch that last player. Better to play safe than sorry out here from this team here too. I like how they've been playing passively, despite even seeing that that was a rat at the very end. Now FA players also having to play this as a solo. We saw them earlier. They exit out of Jurassic Park. Bin, the sole survivor out of all that chaos, coming out as not just the kill leader, but with a total of 11 KP for the entire team. Not sure he's going to be able to get his teammates back in this, but with everybody distracted on each corner of the circle, trying to fight their own battles, maybe he could sneak one in.
The way he's playing, it's like he's a 3-man just by himself, so we'll see what he's going to be able to do. Dude went absolutely nutty in that team fight. Unfortunately, that respawn is just out of reach with 10 seconds left. He's not going to be able to do it. I like this play. Don't give up your positioning. Play on over towards this high ground. Perfect little area cubby inside of this rock to go and hide. You can see the player outlines from him directly south. So if there is a seer team, it's going to end up coming back to bite him. But while that's happening, Leave No Witnesses gets into a little bit of fight. This is the team that's coming after Razor for first place, who's been slow playing things a majority of the game. 6 squads remaining. We know who the solo is. The rest are teams of 3 as the wall goes down for Catalyst and Pyrrhus. Seer ultimate happening to try to slow things down. They've used a wall of their own. Just one more shot before Pyrrhus goes down. He's able to get back on over towards safety.
Clenching as he pops the shield bat, and the suppressed fire comes from the rest of his teams. The beam with the R9 coming in again. Look at these walls helping them, surrounding them to give them some extra cover as Pyrrhus is going to be able to try to pop the medkit. He disengages because the circle's closing in. Brutus gets stuck on the tree branch. They're forced to run into the open area in the line of sight of not just one, but 2 teams. Now playing off the third team right on the low end of this rock lip. They try to get onto the top. They get the kill. NTC gets eliminated, and with 5 squads left in this final game, it is looking crazy.
It was Tyson above them, but all of a sudden MJ comes through with the scout and helps them out just temporarily. Heals end up going down for Brutus. This gold armor is huge in this type of situation as Kodagami potentially gets rezzed by Stankini. Nice job throwing the Seer ultimate to find out exactly where everybody's located, and it's going to be the smoke to buy some extra time. The Seer Q ends up going just a sliver too late. It's a gold knockdown res for Leave No Witnesses. That is huge. And now they stand a chance of still taking first place away from Team Razor. They got to take their time clamoring up. Who's going first?
Trying to push each other, elevate each other through jumping on the other's head real quick. Who's going to get through that lip? It's Razor. Our partner squads are doing amazing in this final game right now. Razor sitting in first with 71 points. They are looking on fire. Tyson on the other side. They're going to be able to sit on here with Mike and Ike also across from them. But this is a good spot for them to hold, because while they have the rocks, they have that natural cover to work with to play off the high ground that the rocks provide. But they have to look to the side to make sure that they don't get snuck up on by the other team.
Nice shots with the 30-33X from Blitz, trying to get onto Silent from Team Mike and Ike. Takes them all the way down to no shields. About 40 HP left on Silent. As you can see, the missile swarm going down on top of the rock. It's not able to land. Leave No Witness still needs to make the way on over towards the zone. It's the 2-4 here for Purist. The Thermite is going to connect, but it's not doing enough damage, and Leave No Witness looks like they're on the verge of being eliminated from Team Tyson. Partner team helping out partner team as Razor was putting shots in the back into Team Tyson as well. They've taken over the high ground, and it's 3 partnered squads in the final circle. Team Mike and Ike, Team Razor, and Team Tyson. Razor should be able to secure first place with this one. Just a matter of, will there be a fight for this accumulative leaderboard? We know where everybody stands. Team Mike and Ike is on that low ground over towards the west-hand side. You can see Team Tyson is the other squad over towards the southeastern side. Seer ultimate taking place. Borton looks like everybody running out of heals here for Team Razor, Vicky.
This is insane. I'm sitting on the edge right now. That's why you saw Blitz swap over to the blue Evo shield and having to give up that red Evo shield behind, but it's not like he needs it. He gets the first knock, but with the other team on the other side, they can't give this position up. You know the third party's gonna go in, but they still need to capitalize off this KP. They're sitting in first place. They want to make sure that they stay on top.
He doesn't have any syringes either, Vicky. He literally has nothing besides ammo, and that's going to mean Team Tyson should be able to buy time to move up. There's not enough time to loot these boxes either for Team Razor. It's in a fairly dangerous spot. Wizard Coid goes down. One more player remaining behind the knockdown shield. That's going to be MJ. Razor laying down shots over towards the high ground as well. Remember, they don't have any meds. It's a 3-on-3 straight up for the final game. Team Tyson in 5th place going up against Team Razor. Borton, the healthiest member alive. They do have to clamber up. Kodagami taking a decent amount of damage. Borton with some really great movement as Stankini lays down the car shots directly into his back. Bursty making his way through the smoke, but Cruisin's been an absolute menace with this charge rifle. He doesn't have any big heals, so he's just gonna have to slow heal using these cells, and it's just not enough meds, not enough time for Razor to reset. Team Tyson takes game number 6.
Huge for Team Tyson, where they were sitting in 9th place before this game even started, but our partner squads being the last 3 squads alive for that final game is the best way to land the cherry on top and wrap up our night for today, Tom. That was crazy. Congrats to Tyson for also staying consistent in the best way that they can, because they were top 3 a few times, including on World's Edge there too, and Razor probably finishing things off in first place with the KP that they held, as well as their positioning.
They had a lot of points on the Razor side, and Tyson had numerous times where they were inside of final zones. They just weren't able to capitalize, but we did see 4 different winners overall, when at least we had only 2 after 4 games. So Leave No Witness and Team Tyson putting in some big work in game number 5 and 6. What a day, what a night of Apex Legends here for Series Z. That was extremely exciting. We saw so many different new names coming through. We saw some old names returning, like Team Lonely fans. Everybody put up a blast, so shout out to the players for competing.
Yeah, I loved watching how a lot of these players have also experimented with new things that have been shifting in the meta. We saw a bunch of Rampart in Pro League. We're seeing Mad Maggie come out of nowhere here. Lots of Wraith being used on World's Edge. I love it. The Horizon picks to counter the Catalyst wall eventually with the Black Hole. It's been very exciting to see how a lot of these teams have been bringing out what they think is best out for the team. But the one thing that we do see is consistently, Tom, is the Seer. The Seer meta continues to stay alive, and it's been a bit of a problem, but it's been nice to see the change up from a lot of these other teams.
Yeah, the nerfs weren't as big as we thought they were. I mean, you can still see that he's being utilized a handful of different ways. Bloodhound, he's out of there. Seer, he's going to continue to skyrocket. Vicky and I are out of here. We'll see you guys next week. We're going to toss this one on over to Yeso.
You are the Apex champions.
Big thank you and a lot of love to my friends T Squared and Vicky Kitty with a wonderful cast on the day. So thank you to both of you and enjoy the rest of your week. Looking forward to some awesome ALGS action this weekend, Vicky. We'll be keeping an eye out for you there. And of course, Tom with the awesome watch parties as well. As we wrap up tonight, of course, Tyson with the win in the final game and doing Razor a big favor because things were very close, very tight there in that final circle with Leave No Witness still alive because as you saw, Razor had kind of taken the strategy that I talked about prior to this game. Play it slow, play it deliberate, get yourself into that late game to give yourself an opportunity to win. You don't necessarily have to frag out. And they kind of did exactly that because with 4 teams remaining, they had 1 KP, so they hadn't put a ton of points on the board, but they'd put themselves in the position to try and close things out, and Tyson taking out Leave No Witness opened the door for Razor to finish things off, and while Razor didn't get the win, they likely got just enough points to take home a victory here tonight. Let's take a look, though, at our final Mobile One high-performance moment here for the day, and it's a look at Tyson closing things out. They've got the easy finish up as they've got Mike and Ike backed into a corner here in this final zone. They just got to finish off the last bit of health here for MJ. And now they turn their attention to Razor. And as you can tell by the health bars, Razor just bleeding resources at this point. Didn't have nearly enough to deal with this push here from Tyson. Though, I will say, credit to Razor for honestly making me at least momentarily question whether or not they could clutch this out. They get that big knock onto Stankini, and they've got cruising low a bit on shields at the very least, so they maybe open the door, but ultimately Tyson able to overwhelm with the amount of health they came in with and just the severe lack of resources, meaning that any sort of mistake from Razor was so easily punished by the side of Tyson. But Razor put themselves in that position to try and take home the victory tonight, and Tyson ends the night on a very nice high note here with the win in Game 6, meaning that we do end up getting 4 different winners on the day, of course, with Razor and 2 R1C doubling up. And this is Tyson, who have even more ground to make up on those overall standings that we looked at the top of the day. And while it's unlikely that they could challenge for that #1 spot, they could still be in the mix to lock up their position going into next season. So a very important win there for Tyson. Let's take a look, though, at how things ended up on our Mobile One leaderboard. And it is, in fact, Razor with the victory there. Leave No Witness finishing in second, and 2 R1C round out that top 3 with 57 points. Tyson getting very close. Unfortunately, not enough to jump ahead of 2 R1C at the end, but still right on their heels, and they jump a point ahead of Aegon by AOC. And we talked at the top of the day, it was a 110-point gap between Razor and Mike and Ike at the top of the standings. Razor has closed that gap here today by 42 points. That is a huge day for Razor. Aegon on their own closed it by 19 points, and it was a much smaller gap for them. So both Aegon and Razor having very, very big performances here today to change the complexion of what it looks like on that overall leaderboard. And if we can, I'd love to take one more look at it before we go. I don't know. Okay, it is in fact updated with today's current results. So this is where we stand after today's competition here. Razor now within 50, that's 60, 68 points of Team Mike and Ike there. And Aegon now within 52. So now Razor right on Aegon's heels here, which is huge. Second place is going to mean a lot here in the end of the season, but Aegon and Razor putting themselves in even better positions to try and make some big late season moves here. Mike and Ike going to have to stand their ground big time if they want to claim that Season 6 championship here in Series E. It's going to be a hell of a run to the finish, and I cannot wait to watch it all here with all of you over the next few weeks. Looking forward to it very, very much. That is going to do it for us tonight, though. Multiverses on Friday, Guilty Gear Strive tomorrow night, so there's still plenty of Series E action to come, so I hope you are looking forward to that. My name is Yeso. As always, such a pleasure to host for all of you. For myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for watching with us here tonight. We will see you again tomorrow.